Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Welcome to Musing with Menchaca. This is episode 44 of Musing with Menchaca. This is the conversational podcast where four friends or family members gather around these microphones, each with their own topics to talk about for your amusement. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, share us with your friends, and subscribe for more content. I'm your host, Luis Menchaca, and to my right, I got the ageless immortal Tony.
Yep.
And next to him, the soldier of fortune, Juan. Damn, okay. The marketing guru, Carlo. No business card. That's fine. So, if you like that, did I say the plug, the like, share, and subscribe? All that kind of stuff? Oh, yep. Yeah, be sure to do that. Like, share, subscribe.
There you go.
Follow me on my social media.
Sorry,
Twitter,
we're a little rusty.
Twitter at Chocolate88, PSN, Steam, XBL, Twitch, all Chocolate88, all across the board, easy to remember. And be sure to drop a comment with any reactions to anything that we say. And you can catch this whole show on iTunes and Google Play. Link in the description. All right, cool.
Did good.
I'm getting better at this.
Yeah. You got to keep doing it, though. If you stop,
You get rusty.
you get rusty, man.
There you go. All right, so this is an
Follow up.
It's a follow-up episode. I was going to say, as much as we kind of call this episode 44, this is more like episode 43.5.
43 deuce.
Part two.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first thing I want to talk about is basically I want to, since Tony wasn't here, I'm throwing Tony in under the bus kind of thing.
No, actually, he was here. He just wasn't here.
I was here in spirit.
He was,
and then a little bit in
He was
no,
listening.
But what I'm trying to say is I want to give Tony this platform to open up and talk about anything that he disagreed with on any topic last week.
Absolutely.
Oh, I would say it would be easier for me, like, if y'all revisited a little bit, like, if y'all summarized what happened last time, and that way I can kind of go off of it, because I didn't, like, super do
Well, we touched up on a lot of topics. I think
I got them written down.
what I would want to do is just kind of cover one of the main topics that we talked about was gun control and
net neutrality, gun control,
and
the
net
human
neutrality.
condition, hashtag delete Facebook were the four main topics.
but the top two ones were,
net neutrality
the
and
net neutrality.
hashtag
Yeah.
Delete Facebook, kind of.
Yeah, I would say those two are the top
yeah.
two.
And I think somebody threw a comment in there about the Analytica thing.
Oh,
that
yeah,
we're
I
trying to
saw
say that we didn't explain it right or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know who that schmuck was.
I thought that was your friend.
Schmuck. It was one of your friends.
It wasn't.
No, I'm just kidding. It was Tony.
No, it wasn't Tony.
It wasn't. Oh,
No, I didn't recognize.
Tony.
It was
I didn't
somebody
recognize the
else.
name. I think it was a female actually.
Oh, it was Tony.
No.
What was it?
I didn't say anything about Cambridge, I don't think.
Cambridge Analytica, and it looked like
If
a
it
female's face on the little thing.
It was somebody. I don't think it was Tony. It was
Oh, okay.
Tony.
Okay. Well,
Why does he have a female?
Like
person
feminine-
on-
because I thought you were logged in under your mom's account.
Well, I did something from
You
somewhere.
did
I
something
I
from
was
your
on-
mom's
yeah.
account. And
Bro,
then
why
one
are you
from your-
logging into your mom's account, man?
I didn't have I had intermittent access to.
All right. Okay,
So,
so
but anyways,
okay, let's. What was the first one? Let's go from top
net
to bottom.
neutrality.
Net neutrality was the first one.
Well, the first one was politics. It was just talking about our political views and stuff, just in general.
Okay, we're gonna get into that a little bit. Okay, so what about the other one? Net neutrality.
Net
All right.
neutrality.
You were making a case for getting rid of net neutrality, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
or as to the degree that I understand it, because
Okay, go ahead.
like I come from the perspective that usually everything that government does is like wrong, or it's like a big giant sledgehammer. Kind of like if you think of like a nuclear weapon versus a gun. A nuclear weapon is good in certain situations, but it's very extreme, very big, and it's going to be very messy, very like that. That's usually how I think of the federal government, and pretty much all government, but the federal being the biggest government, it would be the closest to a nuclear weapon. So when you use the federal government for something, it's like taking the biggest sledgehammer in the history of the world for any problem. So if it's a small problem and you're using the federal government, it's almost...
Well, an example to your point was in the early days, like in the 1900s, they would use the Morse code. The government controlled that, and they were the ones that were operating the communication lines. They were using the railroads and the communication lines for that, but it was losing money like every year. And then like after like 15 or 20 years, I don't even know how long, they decided to privatize that, and it was then that it became a profitable ordeal thing.
venture.
So that's what you're talking about. Just in general, when you get
like-
government involved, there's a lot of red tape.
Yeah, there's no incentive. There's no good incentives.
to
There's
profit
no
out of something,
or
do
to
good
make
with
it like sustainable. Actually care about the customers, like that their quality, listening to feedback, because you're getting paid regardless.
like,
So
like
And
i.e.
you're-
the post office.
And you're against subsidizing
UPS does it better.
stuff.
UPS, yeah.
Wait, and we're talking about subsidizing. You're against
Well, he's talking about
or
just in general,
you're
the
in general
government
talking
Well,
about.
yeah,
Involved with
in
enterprise.
general, because like
Yeah.
the subsidy thing, even that, like I was thinking about what y'all were telling me that, there could be situations, and that's a powerful argument to say, like, it would be good for the government to support certain like fledgling industries to make them grow up. And I was trying to,
not fledgling, like developing.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's like small ones that you can like kind of keep them safe for a little bit before they get like
and
big.
To keep it in context is during what period of time, like in 08, for example, 09, we had the housing market going down, we had the vehicle, like the cars industry.
But see, even those, that was all government.
But they had to.
No,
right?
but
no, actually, they didn't have to.
I'm just saying, in the context of it, they give.
You're saying they had to bail them out.
They had to bail them out.
No, but they only had to bail them out
Otherwise, you're
because
gonna
they
have
created the
hundreds of thousands
situation
of
too, like
employees.
because they created those weird incentives
I'm
to
with
give people
I'm
subprime
with
mortgages
Tony.
and
I'm
stuff.
with Tony on that.
Right?
They did.
And I understand where they were coming from
Right.
because they wanted to give like it was part like a feeling guilty for the past races of America, and it was part feeling like poor people like they're downtrodden, we should help them out.
The whole-
so I can see it coming from a good place.
The intent was good. Was
Yeah.
like, we're gonna give these people who normally can't penetrate these neighborhoods
Yeah.
to get loans to go into these nice neighborhoods.
Correct.
But,
Yeah.
but that's not what
Yeah,
happened.
and I understand where they were coming from. It's just like the problem is they couldn't afford, like they assumed racism when they could have just assumed like other factors, more important factors. And there was probably a little bit of that in there, but like
there was a lot of that.
a lot of people, like if you can't afford a house, lowering the interest rate, like people don't understand the interest rate determines if a bank is good at all, the interest rate is telling the bank how likely you are to default. So if there's like 100 of you and you all have this, like you're in the same bracket of interest rate, that means like if they're factoring in the risk of your certain profile so that if the normal percentage of like let's say like this, if like the normal interest rate for your group, whatever the group is 3%, that means if there's like 100 of y'all, maybe 2% of y'all will default, but they'll make enough money from everyone else their interest
But how banks
cover
do
the
it,
To
right?
cover the losses.
You know how
and
banks
make a
do
profit,
it.
and make a
Banks
profit.
and make a profit.
Right, but banks they pull these.
That's
risks.
what
Yeah.
he's talking about.
Yeah,
right,
but
right.
see, when you start artificially, when you start messing with the
Artificially
interest
low,
rate,
yes.
you're
I
mispricing
agree
the
with
risk
you.
like that. And what happened is, at least to my understanding, there was a lot of people who should have had very high interest rates to the point that they didn't want to get.
Some of it had to do with interest rate. The other half
No,
was
it was
regulating.
Yeah,
the banking.
but see, that's the thing. So like some of it was like when a government guarantees a loan, that's a risk-free loan.
Let's start.
That
with government.
allows for
Let's start
shady
with the
crap to
government
happen.
part. Let's start with the government part. In 1997, 98, I forgot when Bill Clinton he signed this law. And he was saying, I want every American to have the opportunity
Yeah.
to
yeah,
buy
and
a
see,
home.
even that
Own a
was
home.
see, and that's the thing
So
that
that's
goes
where
from
HUD. So that's where
Yeah.
HUD got this. They
Yeah,
got
that
like this
the
money
directive
and the directive to go and get that done.
yeah,
Right.
And the way that
and
they did
it was deregulation.
That's where they deregulated.
They deregulated certain things,
certain parts about getting approved.
Yes,
You
the approval
could have
process.
just said, "My name is Mickey Mouse,"
Yeah.
and you would.
People
They made it
actually-
too easy.
And
Yeah,
you
they made it
literally would've
easy.
gotten a
Well, see,
loan.
because if the government wasn't involved at all, a bank, if there was no regulation in this system, the bank is trying to make money, right? So they wouldn't
no,
make.
it was regulated before that.
I know, I'm not saying that, but
and
I'm
it's
saying
regulated
like in a
since, too.
in
In a
like-
vacuum.
Yeah, let's say in a vacuum, a bank just with no regulation, it's a business, so it's trying to make money. So it's
Correct.
only going to loan out enough money. It's going to loan out money to people that are going to pay it back.
Absolutely.
All right. So, and then it might start getting a little, if it's going to get riskier, it'll charge you a higher interest rate, but it'll
Right.
charge everyone in your category a higher interest rate so that, okay, maybe you're in a category that's a little more high risk and 20% of you
Right.
instead of like 5% are going to
Correct.
default on your
Right.
loans. Then the interest rate will balance out those losses and also give them a profit.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
So
you
the
know,
risk
profits.
is-
Managing risk.
Yeah.
Managing
Yeah, the
risk.
interest rate
Okay.
by itself should normally tell you how risky they perceive you. Now, they could always be wrong. No individual business, no individual loan manager is going to get it 100% right in every situation. But on average, over time, it will get closer and closer
Hey,
to the
but
real
we're talking
risk.
about individual subsidies here. What we're talking
no,
about
hold on,
before
hold on,
was
hold on.
governmental subsidies
Okay,
for
so-
corporations.
No, but see, those are individual entities, and I would say with any subsidy, I almost like the reasoning on a feeling basis of supporting a fledgling industry. But the problem is, free money is like crack. Nobody gives it up. So if you give it to a small company when they're small, they're going to find a way to keep getting it even when they're big.
They're gonna find a way.
They
to keep,
won't give it up. They'll start lobbying. They'll be like, "Oh, you need to give it to us. You've been supporting us all this time. We're not going to
And
be
if you take
competitive."
it away, yeah.
They start
How
doing
many
that.
take it away?
job
Yeah,
trafficking.
they
And
do
then
that.
The other thing is, you put the idea in people's head that the government should be doing it. You're violating the principle that the government has no business doing
farmers
this.
are like super hardcore dependent on these
yeah,
subsidies.
Yeah, like
but,
even
but
the
you just made
ethanol
a
thing.
really important point.
Yeah.
Your point is on point to my point.
Okay.
And so let me transition to that. So what the culture in government has been that they have been involved in subsidies, and it's not even really subsidies. Is
in everything.
supporting
Yeah,
certain
it's
industries.
messing with people's money and determining
it's
who
not-
the winners and losers are.
Right,
to a certain
exactly.
degree.
And a candidate, what's his name, from Delaware, the Romney, or not Delaware, Mitt Romney said,
Massachusetts.
Washington doesn't pick the winners and losers; they pick the losers.
Yeah, they only pick the
They
losers.
only pick the losers,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
So you're right. You made a really good point, and that was that the government subsidizes individuals, corporations, and they push these because it benefits the money.
Because like if they give,
our what is it called? The GDP or the
well, it benefits even their individual bank account. Because like if I'm a congressman, right, and I'm saying, hey, we need to support my local districts, blah blah blah,
or our states,
or even our state, whatever
company,
I'm representing, there's a high incentive for whoever's getting the money to be like, oh, we appreciate you helping our business out. We wouldn't have survived without you. Here's a few extra donation dollars, and now it creates this. You're basically paying them at that point to give you this money.
That's the culture.
You're getting a cut. It's
That's
like
the
a
culture,
commission.
right?
Yes.
We know, for example,
but it's the
Lockheed
culture
Martin,
now.
They employ people in Louisiana, Oklahoma,
Yeah,
Texas.
specifically to mess with
Why?
these congressmen.
Because they give votes.
Yes.
Right?
But see, that's part of the culture. It's a culture of buying people's votes.
What your argument is that you want to break the culture and say, hey, let's start from
Well,
scratch.
I wouldn't even say break the culture. I just want to go back to how it was. Like we weren't perfect when we were started, but there was no
to do that. A Ponzi scheme, a person that's in charge of a Ponzi scheme can never say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start from scratch. Let's start over. You can't.
No,
you cannot unravel.
Okay, I'll say this: you can take steps in the right direction.
Without
Because if you can't unravel it, then
the whole goddamn thing.
No, you can
and rebuilding from
you
the
can
bottom.
take slow steps
No,
in
you
the right
cannot.
direction. You can.
No, you cannot.
Yeah,
no, you
you
cannot.
can't. I mean, no. I'll say it like this: there's definitely going to be pain. There's no
It's a
version of this
domino
without pain.
effect.
No, but
You
this
may
is what I'm
say
saying.
4 of the
No,
biggest
here.
5 industries,
Well, I'll say
but
this:
one
you said
industry's
it's
going down.
You said it's a Ponzi scheme, right?
It's kind
Well,
of a
okay,
Ponzi scheme.
okay,
I think more of an analogy.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, but if it's like a Ponzi scheme, I'll say this: most Ponzi schemes, or all Ponzi schemes, end eventually, and when they end, it's
it's
horrific
bad.
blood in the streets, kind of whatever.
Look
What
at
I'm
08.
saying is,
Yeah.
so it's gonna happen
Yeah,
if you
but we
wait.
didn't
But you
learn
stop
from-
the bleeding
but
eventually.
we didn't learn from 08.
Yeah.
We
all
will,
the same damn thing.
but we didn't learn from 08 because nobody felt the pain.
All right.
Everybody felt the
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Because
A
it
lot
should.
of people
No,
did.
the
No,
pain
'cause the
should have been a
government-
lot worse. They blunted a lot of
of
people.
executives committed
no,
suicide 'cause they
no,
lost
but
a lot of
No,
stock.
a lot of the wrong
didn't-
people felt the pain.
it wasn't
The
a real
people that
Great
made the
Depression.
bad decisions didn't feel the pain. The investors
No.
of those companies didn't feel the pain.
After this
the people
happened-
that needed to learn the lesson.
Yeah, after
know-
after this lesson happened, that's when they made a law where the
Right,
CFO
yeah.
and the CEO have
They're
to
in
sign
charge.
it, and they're going to go to
They're-
fucking prison
yeah.
if they start fudging the
Right.
numbers.
Yeah,
Okay?
but see, they
That's
shouldn't
when
even
it is.
have to
But that
do
wasn't
that.
like that
Well,
before.
No,
some of
okay.
that.
Now, what
Some of
about
that is okay.
What
Some of
about
that's
that,
okay.
though?
But they wouldn't even have to.
Accountability.
It's a problem that they created, and they created another problem on
No.
top of it. I'm okay with accountability, especially if the shareholders want it, because
Right.
at the end of the day, it should be for the investors. If I own a piece of this company,
Absolutely.
I will tell them
Now-
what I want
now, let me
the
tell
people
you
running my
something
company
here.
to do.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things you're saying. Okay, I agree with a lot of things you're saying, but there's an opposite portion of that. If government is not involved, you're gonna destabilize a lot of shit. And
No,
what I
but
mean,
see-
what I mean by that, hold on. If there are no government rules, laws, regulations on how businesses run, then nobody would invest.
Well, I would say I'm not.
Third world countries, they don't have these regulations. And guess what? Nobody invests in these.
Well-
And people inside those countries don't invest in this shit. We can't even trust putting our money over there because there's no regulation. They accept
There's no
bribes.
trust.
There's no trust.
I wouldn't
There's
say that.
nothing
I
like
would
that's the something you have to realize, that something that America does great on, or pretends to do great on, is we go after the people that are responsible for lying, fudging numbers. We have the IRS. We have all these fucking entities that check businesses to make sure that they keep them in check. If these things aren't in there, then people wouldn't invest, and then fucking nope, there wouldn't be any money pumped into that industry.
Well,
is what I'm saying.
I would say what I'm saying right now. I just
It's a
want to see.
necessary evil.
I would say I don't know how much government we need.
Yeah.
It could be in theory, maybe right now or even someday it's zero. But I'm not saying it is. But I want to see how close we can get.
Right.
Okay. So that's where I'm saying I don't know exactly where it is, but it's going to be a lot closer to zero than it is to where we
And
are now.
The only reason why it's a necessary evil is because we humans are evil. Like, we will find a way
Greed
to
is
take
good.
Greed is
to
Okay,
take the mile.
But see, that's
you
why
get
I
the
think
inch.
no. But
you
see,
wanna
that's why I
take the
think
mile.
government is bad because government is made of what?
Greed,
people.
yeah, greed is everywhere.
So
Greed
the
is
evil
everywhere.
that's a problem for us as
Yeah.
individuals is still going to be a problem in the government because the government is just a group of people.
right.
Now, government should be involved in terms of regulation, in terms
It depends.
of policy.
It really
You
depends.
Listen, we have the judicial, we have the executive.
No,
we have
okay. Like I can give you police, I can give you judges, I can give you the military, but really after that, like it's all super debatable.
Hold on, no. Transportation. Yeah,
Post
transportation.
office.
Sorry.
No public transportation.
Public
Post
transportation.
office.
Let me tell you something. Who would pay for? Hey, somebody came knocking at your door. I need $10,000. Why? Because we got to build this road. Will you do it? Will you pay him $10,000?
Do I? If I have $10,000 and it's a good investment,
I'm
for
like,
me,
hey, Tony. You know what? We're gonna collect $10,000 from you because your neighbor doesn't want to pay. It would have been $5,000, but your neighbor doesn't want to pay. So then what?
okay, well then it's not worth $10,000 to me. So you have to
Okay,
go to
well
the
then
next
now
town
you
and get
can't get out of your
$20,000.
driveway or your road because we can't repair
Well,
these roads.
no. If I can't get out, if I don't
Public
pay,
transportation
no,
has
look,
to be government
look.
red.
If I
Led.
don't pay the $10,000, I know I'm not going to get the road. So you're asking me to pay. It's like this: if I buy a phone,
Right.
I know what I'm getting for the most part, and I'll be like, that's a good deal. So if you come to me with a road,
Oh,
and you
hey,
can't sell me,
by the way, your tower by your road,
It's subsidized.
we
It's
can't get to it because the road's all fucked up. So
No,
you
it'll
don't
be-
have phone service right now.
no, it'll be part of my price.
And
When I pay my
and
phone
by the
bill,
way,
when I pay the phone
part
bill,
of the reason why
part of the
you
price
only
would
pay $50 a month for that phone is because it's subsidized. The government subsidizes
No.
the company. Yeah, it is.
no,
absolutely.
they also do taxes on
the
it too,
FCC,
and it's
yeah,
more
they
than
do.
like
They
20%.
I know that.
But by them
these
collecting taxes just means
these
it proves that they
corporations-
get money.
Listen to me. These corporations get the money from the government and from you too.
Exactly,
so.
but see, I don't want to
So
either. I
let's
want.
not pretend
I
to
don't.
be-
No, I'm not pretending. I'm saying I don't want that. Right now, it's this murky area where it feels like they're just so interconnected. You just have to let them do all this crazy
Here's the
corrupt
thing.
shit.
Here, Tony.
And I don't feel like
okay, I get what
that's.
you're saying.
This is
I
where-
don't want that.
this is
'Cause
where I
wait,
have to-
Let me
Yeah,
say this
yeah,
real quick.
okay, okay,
How you
point
were saying with
there.
the third world countries,
It's
the thing
kinda
with
hard
them,
to tell
it's
the-
not the lack of regulation. It's a problem of culture. America was founded with the kind of I can say Judeo-Christian values
Slaves.
and. Slaves also,
Okay.
but Judeo-Christian work ethic,
Right.
values, the whole shebang, everything
Started
you find in the
over again,
Bible,
yeah.
right? It also came with the values of the Enlightenment, reason,
Yes.
logic, consistency,
Yes.
rule of
Democracy.
law, English common law. We took what the British model was and we kind of tweaked it a little bit and it worked, right? So it was very basic but super simple in its outcome. Like the whole point this was the grand experiment, the first time in history, and people were judging us. Everyone thought we were going to fail because most democracies end in blood.
Yeah, they
you know,
Absolutely.
they just go on a killing spree
And one
and
day
just
we
kill
may
everybody.
very well.
Maybe.
we
Well, but
don't
see,
know.
no, but see, one of the unique things about
Why was the
America is
Roman Empire
we're
so
not-
damn
Roman
great?
Empire,
Yeah,
Because they have roads.
and they have people pay.
It might have helped.
No, they had roads.
It might
and
have helped.
aqueducts.
Yeah, they had the aqueducts. I'll say that. But we're not a democracy. We're a republic. And our founders understood that a pure democracy was not
Right,
good. That's
right.
why
No, we know
democracy
that.
is
Yeah.
not in any of our founding
Right,
whatevers.
right.
But the reason why they did a republic is we're supposed to hold ourselves to a higher standard of the law, something that is objectively true.
No,
So it's not that a person is in charge like a king, because at the time we were founded, everyone
Okay.
they couldn't imagine a world
So
where
let
you
me ask you
wouldn't
this
have a
question:
king.
why aren't you wearing the same thing you wore when you were in first grade?
Because those things were smaller.
Because we've grown, things change, right?
Things do change, but things stay the same
We
too.
have to adjust to the times. Right
But
now,
okay.
capitalism isn't the capitalism it was in the 1900s.
But it could be.
It could be, but it's
And
not.
every time
and
you-
you're
no, but-
suggesting
but
that
I would say-
We're saying
we have to go
wait,
back
wait,
to
wait,
that.
we've got so many
But this is
things
what I would say.
now.
This is
No,
what I would say.
technology.
Every time someone does do it like it was in the 1800s, like in Hong Kong, in 50 years, they went from fifth world country to one of the highest GDP per capitas on the
there's
face
a
of the earth
reason
per
behind
person.
but they
that, though.
innovated.
Yes,
Did they
they-
go?
I can tell you exactly why.
And I'll tell you what, government was very
Yeah,
involved with
yeah.
that.
The government they had a king, a dictator, a British dictator who was like, I'm just gonna let y'all do whatever.
Right.
Just the basics. He was one of those rare instances where you have like a king that's so awesome that everything works out. But he made very simple rules, just basic libertarian rules: rule of law, property rights, blah blah, and y'all do you. Okay, I don't want to deal with y'all. That was it.
There was a lot of infighting.
but how did he enforce that,
You're not
though?
talking about the infighting. You're
no,
not
no,
about the
no,
but see,
you're
that's
talking
part
about
of
the
no,
chaos.
that's part of the process. Just like when you have kids, just like when you have kids, if you have siblings,
So
you're gonna fight
what
with
I'm
each other.
hearing here is
but-
that we have to pick our poison. Like, do we want to go through the process of attrition? You know, the social Darwinism,
Well, hold on.
survival of the
No,
fittest?
no, no,
Or
no.
do we have a government that actually puts policy
No,
in
no, no.
place
I'm not
and
talking
enforces
necessarily
order
social Darwinism.
and still get to the same point?
No, I'm saying it'll get us to a better point, but it will be a lot harder. No, yeah.
Well,
so for example, like
Same
I'll
thing.
use the FDIC for an example. People like the FDIC because you can just put your money
sure
in,
warm,
and it
fuzzy
guarantees
feeling.
your
Right,
money.
right. If it gets
Okay?
robbed, I know my money's back.
Yeah, your
I
money's
got
safe
you.
no matter what.
I got you.
So psychologically, people feel better knowing the FDIC.
But if you have more than $100,000 in there,
won't.
account.
Actually, 250,000
You
now.
have to buy your own
It's
insurance.
250 now.
Yeah, they raised it after
You have
the
to buy your own
financial
insurance.
crisis, and
Okay,
then they
alright,
just kind of kept
cool.
it there forever.
All right.
Okay.
But so with the FDIC, it gives people a psychological thing. But before they had the FDIC, what people would do is they would put their money in a bank, and anytime they heard even the whisper of something bad going on,
Run on the bank.
And though there was a high value on leaks all the time, people would be leaking information. Oh, I think the CEO is doing something shady. Even when the CEO was doing everything right, if they even thought it would go batshit crazy, and all the money would come out. Now, it created turbulence in these small moments, but over time, all the CEOs, all the banks, they had very strict, like super transparent, super strict cultures of like, we can't do any of this shady shit. Obviously, people are always going to try to find ways to do it, but over time, every time somebody discovered one, some people had to take the hit. They had to you
think
got
we could
screwed
do
over
away
in
with
that situation
FDIC
because
now?
that CEO found something.
I think what I'm afraid of is that if without government involvement, I think you're right. I think we should limit it in how much we subsidize and stuff like that. But there should be government involvement because I'm afraid of monopolies. I'm afraid of.
But see, my understanding is even though monopoly is the big scary word they teach us in history class, almost every monopoly in U.S. history has been backed by the government. The government had a hand in it.
The government broke monopolies.
No, because the government
Rockefeller.
does this. They create problems and then they sell themselves to fix it. Like you need a.
Well,
they
of
create
course.
a.
Things change. Like I said, okay, all right. If you're in first grade and you're wearing a T-shirt, and you get to the 5th grade and you're still wearing the same T-shirt, what problem are you going to have probably around that time?
It's not going to fit anymore.
It's not going to fit anymore.
Okay, but what
times
has
change? You got to adjust.
No.
You go to the
I
store
agree
and
that times change. What has changed in that
But
time?
you wouldn't
no,
have
but I'm
known-
asking.
but
No,
you wouldn't
no,
have known that-
because look, in your
that
5th
by
grade
the time
example.
I get to 5th grade, I probably need a T-shirt until the time
Okay.
came where that bitch didn't fit you no more.
No, I would know because I would have examples and history of people growing throughout time.
Well,
See, that would be the
in
one
business
example.
and capitalism, there's hardly ever examples when
No,
technology changes.
No,
and
technology is the thing.
improves.
But see, you have to identify specifically.
We don't have something to look back and say, what did they do when that happened?
I know, but see, what's happened technologically that's made today different for people? How are
lot.
people different in
The
2000
internet.
than the 1800s? But what does
The
that mean?
internet.
We had the
Faster
mail. We
communication-
had mail. Okay, why does
communication
okay? I'll ask you this: why does the increase in the speed of communication change everything?
Because you could, look, back in the day, whatever bank you went to, you had to go to that bank. Now
you can bank
go
from here.
anywhere.
So that's a case
at
for
home.
less regulation because you have more information.
Absolutely not. There's a lot of regulation in banking.
I know there's a lot, but I'm saying, wouldn't that be the case for less regulation today than there was previously?
No,
because you have
I
access
feel more
to.
safe. I feel safe with the.
You might feel-
the
you
example
might
you
feel
gave
more-
me, the FDIC.
Yeah.
I could communicate quicker.
The communicating quicker is not connected to the
Yes, it
government.
does.
That's a different. It might change how government affects, but it's not from government that the communication is
But
quicker.
there's policy in how we communicate, and what we do with our money. Like for example, if you tell me, "Hey man, I work for this company," and guess what? Next week we're gonna roll out this product, right? But nobody knows this. Or give me something negative. Oh man, we didn't get this license from the government. Man, we can't sell the service that we promised the investors. I go in.
So that's insider information.
I go in there and I withdraw my shares. I sell my shares.
All right. Okay.
That's,
All right.
That's an example.
Okay, but see,
of
even
communication,
hold on.
technology, and
I
finance.
I wouldn't fight insider trading
Wait.
too. I wouldn't want to die in that battle hill.
Wait.
But there's even a case to
Hold on.
allow insider trading.
Time
I'm
out.
just saying technology.
No,
and communication
no,
is
because look,
fashion
if
now.
you allowed insider trading, you would anytime a risk appears, anybody in the company knows about, they're going to start selling, and the price will go to its rightful price much more quickly than if the CEO knows something bad is
keeps it
happening.
covered.
Yeah, and he can only do whatever he does with himself. So
All right.
maybe he puts his cash in different situations, but he can't sell his shares. He can't signal in any way until the quarterly. But if he could do insider trading, anytime something bad was going to happen that he thought, he would sell. His shares would sell. Other people would see him selling. They would start selling, and the price would go
Yeah.
until it got the risk.
Here's the problem. All right.
Does that make
Let me talk. Okay. So.
Carlo, adjust your mic. by the way.
No, both of y'all,
Not
both
like-
of y'all brought up
like-
good points, and I love it because you're saying
go.
the
There you
things
go.
I'm thinking. You're saying the counterpoint. I'm thinking the same thing. Here's the thing. I agree with Tony on some things. Government, too much government, it might be too bad. Let's see how back we can roll it.
You
But
need a
here's the
balance.
problem. Here's the problem with evolution. What my brother thinks is trying to get at. The problem is the reason why we have these regulations because we learned over time that if we don't have these rules in place and we scale back those rules that we put because we learn from all these mistakes, if we go back to that line, we're gonna fucking start doing the same shit
Over
and
and
end up
over.
right
Right
back
back.
to where
I
we
would
started.
push back on that in this way. There's a saying that I heard, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something like bad times create good men create good times create bad men. So
It likes like a circle. Yeah.
exact circle. I would argue that since most empires tend to fall over time, most countries, not everything that we've done till now is pushing us to a greater height, but it could be us in the fall of decay. Does that make sense?
Could be.
And I would make the case that it is probably because this country was founded on ideals of freedom and individual liberty. And a lot of things, it really
And
was.
slavery.
And slavery.
And slavery.
Which
is the opposite.
in there.
Yeah.
But you see how times have changed?
No, I agree.
You don't even agree with that.
No, but see, you have. I do. If you go back though, the founders did not want slavery, but they needed those colonies. They were not going
They
to join.
didn't.
Hey,
Freedom.
if we get
They
rid
need-
of
they
if we
need
get
to-
rid of government, we'll go back to
I'm not-
slavery.
remember, I'm
and
not-
women
wait,
won't be
wait.
able to vote.
First of all,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily true. But second of all, I'm not saying get rid of government. I'm saying roll it back near zero, but
All right.
maybe not zero. Let's see how far we can go. All
gonna-
right?
okay.
Even with the wait,
Okay,
but I wanna-
Tony.
Men will start beating women
Give me
again.
an example of a country, not a third world country. I'm talking about like a very
Modern country.
country that is close to what you're suggesting.
Okay, I'll respond to
If
that
you
with
can.
this first,
No,
and we'll say if I
tell
need to.
me.
I'll say this: what would you tell Jason if he said, "Hey, all my friends are going to go jump off a bridge. I'm going to go do it too"? Because that's
Is
what
it
you're saying
safe?
right now.
And can I do it too?
No,
No,
you
of
would
course not.
Yeah, you say
Hell no,
Yeah,
man.
don't. Are you going to jump off a bridge if everyone else is?
No,
No, you don't do
absolutely.
that. So saying just because everybody else is doing it is not a good argument for why we should do it.
Okay, awesome. But
Does that make sense?
Now answer
No,
this
there's a
question.
reason why I'm asking you though.
No, I understand the reason because you're trying to make the point that if all these other countries are doing it, there must be.
No,
a
No.
reason.
We
No.
want an example of
A
this
country
Who
that
no,
is
no,
doing
no.
what
you
you're
already-
suggesting?
The same. I would
Who's
answer
closest to it?
Russia,
the closest to it. It's hard to say.
China.
America is probably
There's
the
no modern
there's
country that's doing that.
No, Hong Kong by itself before
No,
it's yes,
not modern, not right now.
modern Hong Kong. It's got a little more regulation, and but see that's the thing. Every society,
Everything is so limited in Hong Kong.
No, because everybody there's a natural tendency in humans or human
You know why?
societies.
You know why? Because of corruption. Because
Yeah.
there's no government.
Because
like
no,
you're suggesting.
but no,
Okay.
no, there is government
In
in Hong Kong.
Vegas,
There
if you
is
want
government
in
Hong
Vegas,
Kong.
if you want to start your own taxi company, could you do it?
No,
Why?
because government.
No, it has
Yeah,
nothing to do
you
with
have to get a
government.
license
Has
from
nothing
the
to do
government.
with
You don't
government.
have to get a license in Vegas.
You know why?
Don't you have to
Why?
get a license?
The
Wait,
mob.
wait.
And I know that sounds kind of funny right now, but they control that. All right, let's change the scenery. Let's go to Cancun.
Okay.
Can you go in there and buy a car and convert it into taxi and operate there on your own? No, you cannot.
They can't
They
even do
have,
Uber.
They have a cartel. They have like
An actual union cartel.
a union. It's a union is basically what it is.
Yeah, like you have to be part of the union to drive a taxi.
And you have to have millions of dollars to be able to get bonded. And
Technically, if you think
So-
about it,
so-
a union's a government type
Hong
of
Kong,
organization.
No, they
Hong
become
Kong
that.
is like
Yeah.
that. Hong Kong is like that.
No.
You have to be high in government to be able to be
or
able
high in a cartel or union
no,
or whatever.
Hong- no.
Absolutely.
No, but see, no, wait,
don't
wait,
be
wait.
naive, man.
Wait,
Don't
I'm
be
not being
naive.
naive. This is what happens. All societies, like the Bible says, just like the Garden of Eden was good for a while, but then the snakes come in. Okay, so what happens is you start off good, and then the corruption goes insane. It's like when
So
you play.
then don't reference Hong Kong anymore.
No,
then.
I will.
Because
No,
now
I
you're
will.
telling me that it's
No,
full
no,
of shit
because,
now.
No,
So don't reference
no,
it
because
anymore.
then just like
I
you
like that it started just like the U.S. I mean, like our government, we started good.
because I'm
and
sure
then
there's
now we're
lots.
shit.
No, there's lots of ideals. I'm sure that you hold in high esteem, but you fail to meet lots of times. That doesn't
Absolutely.
mean the ideal should be thrown away, right?
No.
Just because like you think you should always keep your word, but you lied that one time. Well, I lied, so there's no point in telling
No,
the
no,
truth.
no,
You don't
no.
say that, right?
Right,
No, you
right.
say I failed, but we need to try harder next time and learn
And
why
I
we made
agree
this
with
mistake.
you, but I agree with
Yeah.
you. What I'm saying is the level of rules and policies that we have are there for a reason.
I would say, but see, the
And
reasons don't have to be good
The
reasons.
way that some of our CEOs, like, we don't even have to look that far. One of the companies, the nonprofit companies that I actually looked up to when I was a young kid,
Turned out
was
to be corrupt.
very corrupt. It was the red, not the Red Cross. Damn it, it was the one for Thanksgiving.
The Red
Salvation Army.
Salvation
Army is one of the ones that I was really let down with. You know, I volunteered my time, and I found out that the CEO makes millions of dollars. Millions of dollars.
Well,
Now-
okay.
now-
well, here I'll say this.
and that's not a bad
But
thing. I want people
okay.
to do well in their life,
Yes.
right? But when you look at what they're doing in the communities, I mean, yeah, they're helping. Good, they're helping, but they're not abolishing. You know.
Well, see, but see, okay, that's the weird thing, and that's the weird thing with this whole. Even in that
homelessness.
situation, let's say they got another CEO that was willing to accept pay for $100,000, but 10,000 less homeless people got fed. Would that have been a good thing?
But here's the thing. That's not my point. My point here is that
Well, no, I think in your mind you feel like a charity shouldn't be paying their
we
CEO
should
so much
have
money, right?
We should
like you
have
wanted to have-
policies in place to govern those type of situations.
No, but see, you really, I don't think you need to, because I think people that donate to Salvation Army, when they hear about that, if they're like you and they're like, wow, this CEO is getting paid too much
Way
in their
too
mind,
much.
then either start
That's my opinion.
Yeah, they stopped donating. They stopped donating their money, their time. They start another charity, or they just stop donating in general. And then Salvation Army will implode.
All right.
Right? No one's going to actively give money to a corrupt corporation or of any kind, charity or not. Like, if I'm giving monies to help homeless people and like 70% is going to the CEO's pay,
Right.
you're going to have
Which is
to.
basically
Yeah,
what it
my
is.
instinct is going to be like, why am I giving you all this money? Now, me personally, I'll be like, if you can justify it, let's make me the case that paying you this 70% is better utilizing this 30%. Because you have to think about that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
possible that this person is
They
so
carry
smart.
value.
Yeah,
They
they're
carry
so
value,
smart. They're so in demand. They have the
connections,
skill set
networking. Oh, yeah,
that they
yeah.
can turn this 30% and do more with it by us giving them that 70% pay.
And
You
that
actually
might be
do it
the
more.
case.
Yeah,
That
but
may be
see,
the
but
case,
people don't pay
but-
attention to that because sometimes people do have these kind of skill sets that are so in demand. You have to pay them a high amount.
If my life
All right.
carries me into doing things like that, I'm not going to expect to make.
We can
$11,
keep going back and
$12
But
forth.
it's not even
We can
expect
go
because he
back
could
and
be
forth
in
on
demand in
this.
the private sector. If you can manage thousands
do you wanna
of
change
people,
topics?
hundreds of thousands.
I think we need to change topic. Okay. The point of it was to get to your point of view, scale back regulations, laws,
Government.
But I did want to make the
Not
point.
too
I get
like,
that,
it can-
and I get it.
It can be very much like some of the things that y'all think, like the FDIC. The problem with that is we.
Oh yeah,
keep
that's what we're really
every-
talking about.
Yeah, that was no. I was trying to use that as a point. The FDIC always is losing money. They are never
talking about the
properly.
FCC or-
Yeah, they're never properly pricing the risk of these banks like falling over and stuff at all.
They're not losing money.
No, they are. They are always. They
the
collect.
individual
No,
banks are not, but
no,
but
the
government may
FDIC,
be
the
as
corporation,
an
the
insurance,
government
yeah.
corporation, yeah, they do insurance,
They
but
probably
they're the
do.
suckiest insurance company in the
So
history
net
of the world.
neutrality.
Right.
They have
But no,
never made a dime in
got
the history
one
of
question
for you.
insurance,
I mean, I
and they
believe that.
constantly lose money. In 2008, they should have seen it coming. If they were a private insurance company,
They
for
would've been
those
all
banks,
over their
they
ass.
would have been all over their ass. They would have been through the books backwards and forwards, and they would have seen this coming, and then they would have started raising the interest rates, and the banks would have been like, "Oh, this is costing us too much. Let's not do this risky shit. Let's find some other risky shit that's going to cost us less." But there were no signals like that because the FDIC isn't there to protect us. It's there to protect the banks.
Bank, of course.
Oh
it
no,
is.
but see, so
I
why
think
are
we
we
all know
paying
that, though.
for it? The FDIC is paid by taxpayer money to protect corporations. How is that helpful to us? It feels helpful because you
Because
feel
the
like you're
banks
never
are holding our money. So
No, okay, but see, you don't have to give them your money. And see, that's the thing.
I
Without,
don't.
if we didn't have the FDIC or all this banking regulation, we could have banks that would charge us to hold our money. And let me say this: so it's just a vault. They hold a vault.
yeah, but if my
and you put
house
their money.
burns down and my mattress burns, then
No,
my
no,
fucking money's gone.
no.
And
That's why
there's
you
no
give it.
insurance
No,
on that
so you
either.
would come to the Bank of Tony, and in a world with no banking regulation, I will charge you. Give me $5 a month, and whatever you want to put in this vault, I'll hold it for you. I got 50,000 guards. I got a tank. I got a nuclear weapon. No one's touching this shit. But all you got to pay is $5 a month.
Well, what I want to know is how come government didn't stop you from getting a tank and a nuclear weapon?
Okay, but anyways,
There's not
that's
enough-
going
All
a
right,
little more about that.
so
Not only-
I can safely say that you're against net neutrality.
Yeah.
He's against big
No,
government.
but for the
He's
point-
against big government.
I'm
That's
waiting
the name
for
of the
someone to
topic.
make the case for it that makes sense to me, or if someone can walk me through it. Because my understanding is the government, out of all the institutions in society, is the only one that's legally that we all recognize they can use force. So they're the most dangerous power center of all because they can steal. They can take your life, they can take your liberty, and they can take your property. That's ungodly amounts of power in society. Nobody else can. Sprint can't do
Let's
any
scale
of that.
that back.
Sprint can't, and I agree.
Let's go back.
Yeah, there are
want-
two
I want
powers.
people
With
rubbing
that
it.
kind of power, you have to
let me tell you
very.
something real quick on the net neutrality. I'm a consumer. I love saving money, but I also love buying things that are going to be helpful to my life. I don't have a problem with paying $50 a month for my cell phone service.
Well, you're going to do whatever you think is
You know,
best with your
like you
money.
said
The best
earlier,
value you
right?
get. Yeah, sometimes it's not doing
But
anything.
if that's the case, you know, if that's how I feel, then I also expect that these corporations govern themselves. They comply with whatever.
That's not gonna happen.
That's not going to happen. Exactly.
No, it will though.
Hold on, time out.
Not.
Time out. It's not. That's why I expect government to be there to make sure that it protects the consumer, me.
No, but see, you
the
should protect
citizens.
yourself.
I'll pay whatever money I have to pay to that company,
in a free,
so long as I'm getting what I know I'm going to get.
No, but look, in a free society, which is that basis of this whole country, you should be. The only times the government should be involved is if someone is attacking your life, your liberty, or your property. That's really all they're supposed to do as this country was conceived. So let me finish.
Well,
real
my
quick
money's
there.
my life.
All right.
So.
Okay, no, but
My
your money's
liberty
your
is
property,
too.
so that's whatever. But unless Verizon is coming into your house and stealing your money, how are they getting your money? Are they
Giving
stealing
it to them.
Do they break into your house, or so you give it to them?
I give it to
So
them.
you willingly be like, okay, you're offering me this.
I mean,
here's
not
my
willing.
money.
I'll be paying later.
So they're putting a gun to your head.
Okay. So let's say they.
Okay, then how?
All right, okay.
I want to clear this up. So it's willing or it's not willing.
Okay.
Automatic
Okay. All
payment.
right. So let's create this
That you
scenario.
signed up for,
if
right?
if you want to go extreme, let's go extreme.
Okay.
They end net neutrality, which they did.
Okay.
Let's say
it's in a gray area.
Let's
Yeah,
say
yeah,
hold on.
they
Wait.
can still be
Hold on.
repealed. They can still
Wait.
be
Hold on.
All right.
Now let's say no company is offering me what I want. They all go and fucking
it's
start
all individualized.
They all start fucking cutting everything into
YouTube
pieces and everything.
all these
Now
things.
I don't have anything. Then what?
Well, first of all, did you build Netflix?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did you build the internet pipes that go to your house?
No.
Did you build any of the infrastructure?
No.
but I
So
don't
what
pay for
demands
it.
do you have?
Well,
so I'll say like
no.
this.
Actually, like, can I argue on that one? I
Okay.
kind of did because
If
my
you do the-
taxes
yes.
pays the government.
And remember what I'm
and the
saying. I
government
don't want those
subsidizes that
subsidies,
shit.
'cause
It
I
doesn't
don't-
matter.
no.
I pay for that shit.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have done
So
that.
guess what?
But see, that's the
I'm
argument I'm
grandfathered
making.
in, motherfucker.
No, okay. You can
Everybody that
no.
didn't pay for that, then they got to pay for that
Okay,
shit.
if we can
Like my
find some
son
way to do
Jason.
that, we can
Not
find
me.
we can find some way to do that. If you feel like do you
understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're
I
saying.
paid for that shit.
I understand what you're saying, but the problem in this situation is you have to decide if you want your son to have a better quality of life, or if you just want to really make sure you get your $50 they took out in
Look,
taxes,
if my grown ass adult child, I don't give a fuck what.
or your
does.
grandchildren, or whatever. But
His
here's
job is to take care of me.
okay. Here, I'll say it like this: the British citizens, when we were all this colony was British citizens, right? They could have chose. Well, we've already paid all these taxes. The British military is already there. If we break off from Britain, we're just going to lose all of it. So why did they choose to actively screw themselves over? Because there was
They
something
didn't screw themselves.
They
over.
did. They had paid all these taxes. The whole British Army was paid for from their taxes, as well as other British citizens. So much
Because
British
of
infrastructure.
opportunity.
Not because of opportunity. They paid the taxes for this stuff, but they chose anyways. You know what? We already paid all these taxes. But yeah, freedom is more important than this money that I'm going to lose this whole life up until now that I paid to the British
Right.
government. So I would say for you, you can be like that. But I would say if you wanted to live in a freer world, a more fair world, a less corrupt world, a world where you couldn't be arbitrarily pulled over.
sorry.
Oh,
You're
you don't.
promoting more
no,
corruption,
No,
honestly.
no,
You're
I
almost
would say-
promoting anarchy.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
And he says
No,
that
but see-
it's okay to do that because
Yeah, no.
after a while, the ones that don't survive.
No,
I'm
no,
gonna-
no,
rise.
it's not social
Social
Darwinism.
Darwinism
It's not
is what it's
social
thinking.
Darwinism.
Yes,
what
it
I'm saying.
is.
No, because let me
Survival
explain.
of the
Let me
fittest,
explain.
bro.
When America was founded, how come we didn't all just kill each other?
Golly.
Because that wasn't anarchy, right?
Actually,
Original
To
America?
be honest with you, when did we say that we were independent? When did we proclaimed our independence?
76.
76. That's when we were proclaimed it.
87 was the
When the
Constitution.
fuck did we fucking actually
Like
do it?
1790
96, 97?
after
Wait.
the
It was a
articles
long
of
time.
Wait,
the
what was the
20
question? What was the
years.
question again? I'm sorry.
It was 20 years later.
Oh, 20 years. Oh, I thought you said 1990. I was
No,
like,
I did, but I said 1790
1787 was the Constitution, I think, was
Yes.
ratified. If I'm
So,
not mistaken.
The actual ratification
we're-
of the
so-
Constitution?
Yeah, because I think the Articles of Confederation,
Confederation
was,
was-
in there somewhere
okay.
in
It was
there,
like in
yeah.
96.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to prove here is that 20-year period was very painful for
It
a lot of people.
Okay, so what you're saying, they shouldn't have rebelled against the
No,
English,
no,
and they should have
I'm-
said.
no, I'm
So
not-
what
no,
you're
no.
saying is sometimes you
there's
can
growth
go through
pains.
There's
pain.
different ways of going about it.
No, I understand
Is
that.
what I'm trying to
But
say.
actually proving his point.
Yeah,
No,
a lot.
I'm not.
Well,
Yeah,
I would say
because
that-
he's
no,
saying-
a lot of
he's
growth
saying-
requires
He's saying
growing
the
pain.
result is great.
Yes,
We're here.
but you have to
But
suffer
what
through.
if that didn't happen? Did you know that was a risk of
Yes,
that
but they
happening?
okay, so they shouldn't have done it.
The only reason
so
why
they shouldn't have done
it's
it.
an okay thing is because it fucking worked.
Okay, but see, that's how it all works.
No, it does
Life
not.
is nothing about risk.
Absolutely
I'll
not.
say this.
Because of
look,
social
look,
Darwinism.
look,
Do you know
look,
what
look,
that
look.
is?
Every time
Survival
I
of
cross
the
every
fittest.
time I cross
There
the
was
street,
some
I'm risking
dumbass
my
that didn't know
life.
how to argue
Yeah,
in
yeah,
front
one
of
at
the
a time,
Senate.
one at a time,
And
one
the
at a
Senate.
time.
I'm talking
Well,
about
here,
the Senate. I'm not him.
Yeah.
And
We're
he
not
lost.
this is not the view.
And then
Okay.
I know, right?
Yeah. But look, I'm not
I'm
arguing.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Here, if you
Yeah.
can believe me, I'm not arguing for social Darwinism. I'm taking a little while to dismantle it, but that's really what
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you can give me that benefit of the doubt.
No, yeah.
I'm not saying like everyone against everyone, but what I'm saying is like I'll say like this for the risk thing. Every time I walk across the street, I'm risking my life. I could get hit by a bus. Now I think the risk I'm personally for my life, I think it's worth it to cross the street most of the time because sometimes
Well, if
obviously
the
I might-
government did not subsidize transportation, you wouldn't be
Okay.
hit by a bus.
That's a little.
lights.
But what the
Okay,
point that
sorry.
I'm making here is that I'm accepting a certain amount of risk because I see the benefit.
Yes.
It's low risk. Now sometimes people will take high risk. The breaking away from Britain was a high risk thing, but the reward of freedom, of not being under the boot of King George, of having an
All that.
actual, the first country
Yeah.
in the history of the world to have like absolute freedom, well, as close to absolute freedom as we've managed to come to, that was a big risk, but it was worth it. It's just like, when you join a new company or when you quit a job and you join a new company, that's a huge risk, especially like in your position, you have like family and kids and
Yeah.
stuff, but sometimes you have to make that decision. I'm putting myself in a risky
Based on the
situation,
risk-reward.
but I think this is going to be really good for us. And you don't know, you think.
Right.
All these situations, government can't really guarantee anything. They can give you the illusion of a guarantee, but they're just offloading the risk somewhere else, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. Like you you have to eat the risk some way. Like the FDIC
But
thing,
the net neutrality. Hold on, let's go back to net neutrality. One of the issues that I have with it is that, like my brother was saying,
Well, I'll say this. From what I saw of y'all's net neutrality video, you were saying something to the effect like,
This
there's
is the
like
land of the free.
hundreds of, it's land of the free. We have hundreds of millions of consumers. Why are we supporting a few businesses? That was very a utilitarian argument. You're favoring 10 people over 100 people. So if I can
Actually, entities.
entities,
Okay.
but they're made
But
of
you
people.
see them as individual. You say that they're individual entities.
No, they're not. They're collections
They're-
of people. Like Verizon
Right.
is all its shareholders,
Right,
plus
right,
the
right,
people
right.
that work there, plus
Employees.
It's a living entity.
the employees. I wouldn't even say one entity, but it's a bunch of people. Everything is people.
Yeah, yeah.
Government is people. Corporations are people. There's like some weird legal stuff there, but they're just people.
The corporation is made up of people, but the
Yes.
corporation is actually one entity.
You can count it as one
It
entity.
is one entity.
but
That's what
it's
it is.
owned. It's a slave
It's not
to
owned.
all its shareholders.
It's all everybody owns it. Yeah, the
All the shareholders own it.
Right.
So the people at the end of the day, it's still people.
Right.
In any direction you go, it's still
No.
ends at people.
Hold on. The United States was based off of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness of the individual, not the corporation.
No, it was based off life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But even
Of
that
the
pursuit of happiness, the
individual.
only reason why that's there instead of property is because of slavery. Okay? It was supposed to be life, liberty, and property. But the only reason they didn't do it is because they
Right.
knew they wanted to get rid of slavery
Yes.
one day, and they would reference this and be like, "Oh, the Southerners could be like, this is our property. These
Right.
black people, you can't take it."
Right, but
So that is- but it is for the individual.
But one of the things that I will give is the corruption that comes out of that, the lobbying that goes through these corporations that lobby to get these regulations in their favor.
Exactly.
Like net neutrality.
Yes.
The guy who runs it worked for Verizon.
Okay.
Did you know
He
that?
used
That
to,
Ajit
yes.
Pai was a
Yeah.
fucking executive
Yes.
of Verizon. You don't think that he's lining his fucking coffers up after he's done with this
Well,
shit?
I don't think
he's
you-
gonna go right back, just like
As
Dick
far
Cheney
as
did.
I know, let me be.
Look.
I want to make sure I'm clear. Humans don't have
Everyone else
telepathy,
that's-
right?
everyone
Your brother's
else
not
is at the
special, right?
FCC.
He doesn't have telepathy. So right now he's just guessing. He can't look into Ajit Pai's mind. Now I'm not gonna
Look
wait,
at Monsanto, man.
No, but
we're going
look,
back and
hold
forth,
up.
and you know it.
No, I'm not.
They
saying
go
they're
back and
not.
forth.
I'm not saying
these
they're not.
chief executives go back
yeah,
and forth.
they
with
do go
government,
back.
I'm
the
saying
lawyers
that, and
all
we
that.
were
You
having
know
this
that, man.
conversation before.
It's not that he's guessing. It's that
Yes.
we've known
We've
the
seen
Yeah,
it.
history.
you're making an educated guess.
No,
based
we're
on your
not.
experience.
It's not even educated guess.
Yeah, so so what
history.
you're saying is if I work for Verizon, I will never be able to do anything that has to regulate Verizon ever. Like I'll permanently be enslaved.
If you
just
want
by
to be
touch.
rich, yeah, I guess.
So you're saying that
No,
after he's done with this administration, he doesn't have everything lined up for him?
He
Come
could.
on, man.
I don't know. He
Come
could.
on,
I mean,
man.
he literally gave everybody in that fucking industry.
But see,
a
but
the
here's
top
what-
6
here's what I'm saying.
companies,
I don't
man.
care about his motives, to be honest. He could be wanting to do all that, but what is he actually trying to pass is my concern.
You
Because the
should
stuff
care
you're
about the
talking about.
motives.
Because look, if the government was limited
Motive
to
has a lot to do
Motive-
with it.
Listen to me. If my intent is certain and you know it, and I'm trying to sell you something, but you know my intent, wouldn't that shouldn't that be a part of your
it would
thought
only be
process?
part of my calculus if I didn't understand what you were
course.
trying to sell me.
No, well, I don't know what the fuck he's trying to sell me. All I know
Exactly.
is he's trying to
See,
make money.
and that's the problem. That's part of this culture of corruption that's in the government right now. There's too much money. All the laws are like 1,000 pages, and not even a single senator knows a any bill.
You're
This is freaking retarded.
you're actually like making a case against yourself.
No, I'm not. Because
Yes,
I want
you
a
are.
small.
Yes, you
no,
are.
Yeah, you are.
Because look, this is what I want. I want a smaller government that does 3 basic things. How am I making a case? If it only does policing, judge stuff, and military. Yeah,
about
I'm
medical?
being a
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
quick here, but
Well, you have
Well,
3 branches of government.
Yeah.
medical.
and Congress stuff.
no. Why would they do medical?
So you're okay with people just dying in the streets?
Are
Nobody
you okay
can-
with people dying in
No,
the streets? Because
fuck
people
no.
are dying in the streets right now.
No. I'm talking about dying in the streets and just staying right there.
No, I'm saying people are dying in the streets right now.
Also, do you see dead people everywhere? Just
Show me
like
where you see a
scattered-
dead person.
Show me where there's just dead people laying there and rotting. Where?
California for sure.
What? Really?
Yeah,
Oh, you just
they
see
have
them everywhere.
they have an epidemic of homeless people on the streets.
Oh, so you're-
Homeless, yes, but not
And-
dead homeless people.
so no homeless people die ever?
what I'm saying is, are they going to
Especially
sit there and
medical
rot?
conditions?
Are you saying they're going to sit there and rot?
The bodies, if they're dead, maybe.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You want to take a break? Want us to take a break? Oh no. Okay.
Well, what I'm saying is, there are certain services that need to be done.
No,
they
there
have
are-
to be.
No. I'll say this.
Medical is one of it.
No,
you
medical
want me?
can be done by people. People. Okay, how you were saying like it was for individual liberties. I agree, but corporations are still groups of individuals. So there's nothing there that changes. Like I'll say it like this: your utilitarian argument is bad because let's say the president of the United States was dying, right? Let's say, and
Why
he's
is it
important.
bad?
Utilitarian argument. I'm about to show you. Let's say the president of the United States. No, let's use an even better example. 100.
Because I don't mind the president dying.
Okay, yeah. Let's say
That was a horrible one, too.
100 little Mexican babies in Mexico have some rare
Why I
disease.
gotta be Mexican for,
Because I think
man?
you'll be able to more
He's trying to
appreciate it.
connect-
Yeah, I'm trying to make it
Connect the
out.
audience, connect the
audience.
100 little Mexican babies have been born this year with some rare disease that no one's ever heard of, whatever. And then all of a sudden they found out your daughter, she has the exact kidneys they need to develop a super drug. but not. Or let's not even say
We'll
kidney.
give 'em
Let's
one.
say a lung. Okay. Let's say in your world, utilitarian, the government should be able to forcibly take her lung, regardless of if she wants to give it up or not, because 100 babies will be saved by this, and it's only one her. But we can even make it
would
more
encourage
severe.
her to do that. By the way.
No, but she
I
wouldn't
would
have a
agree.
choice because the government should be involved in these things. There's some things the government has
Well,
to
the
do.
government doesn't do that now.
Yeah,
But see, that's the underlying principle. The underlying principle you're talking about, the government should decide whatever's going to help the most people. They should screw over the small.
Which, by the way,
most people.
there's a recent example
No,
last
that's
couple of
actually
days
not the
about this
same.
kid, the 2-year-old or 3-year-old in England, I think, or I don't know.
Yeah, but see, in England,
Same thing.
they don't have individual liberties like we do. They have a culture that kind of reinforces
They said
it,
that
but
they
they
can
don't
take
write
them out of
down a
life
lot of their stuff.
support.
Yeah, because the
baby.
government
But
decides
that's because
who lives and who
no,
dies.
it's because that's what the parents wanted.
No, the parents didn't. They wanted to bring the baby here to America because we don't. Our laws say they can do whatever they want with
Actually,
their
the
child.
Italians.
The Italians said they want to fly them over to
Yeah.
Rome.
care.
Anyways.
Yeah,
So-
or wherever they want to take
all
them
right.
anywhere else.
There-
But the British government said no because I don't know what their reason was because it was going to cost too much
But
money.
I don't get what
Which
you're
government
saying.
are you talking about? The U.S.
No, I
wouldn't
brought-
make.
I
No,
brought- I brought- I
there
brought
was a
them
case.
up. I brought
What I'm
this
talking about,
to
the
show.
principle you're using, if you let it flourish and our culture accepts that principle as something the government should do, one day they're going to come for your daughter and tell her
They don't do that now.
Give me an example when
Yeah,
we've
when
done
we've
that.
done
No,
that.
because every time you introduce a
Give
new
me an example where a modern government has done that.
the
That's-
UK,
that's-
like what you're saying, and we are almost always 10 years behind the Europe.
But that wasn't
Anything
saving
happens in Europe
hundreds
10
of
years later,
people.
it
That
happens
was
here.
just
That
a
was just
kid
that
in
No,
an
baby.
I know,
individual
but the
case.
principle is the same. It's the utilitarian argument because in the UK, the British government
And
provides
that
medical
was,
services.
by the way, that was a bad example because
No,
their
it-
government operates way different
No,
than
but
ours.
okay,
Yeah.
they do what Juan wants. They provide medical services for their
But
people.
we already
pay
do
for
that.
it.
But-
No, they pay for everything.
But
They
if
have,
a
like,
person who is
universal health care.
dying
But
wants
we
to
don't want
leave
that.
the hospital,
Actually, my brother's not like that. My brother does not. He does the socialist about the Democrats and stuff. That's
But
far
he
left.
said-
he's more in the middle.
More
I know he
conversant.
says that, but he wants the government to provide medical services. He said that.
yeah.
Yeah, see?
But
That's
we
what the
have
UK
them, is
does.
what I'm trying to say.
Are you saying Republicans don't want medical services?
I'm not talking about Republicans. Republicans are the worst party in the
conservative.
history of the world right after Democrats. Okay? They're
Look,
that's
listen.
literally
I
like
don't know.
Listen,
That
right
much
now
they
we
like.
don't live in a society where they're
Right
going to come
now.
after your lung.
my lungs are
and,
killing
No,
like,
because
kill
no,
my
but see, here's
daughter
what no
to save 100 babies.
No, but see, the philosophy you're using is utilitarianism. The reason why we a long time
you
ago,
might talk about the philosophy, but I'm talking about modern day times now.
No, but see, the philosophy.
Corporation is an
no,
entity.
No, look, the philosophy is what underlies our culture, and the
Yeah.
culture is what informs our laws. If you breed into the philosophy, if our culture accepts a philosophy of
I'm
utilitarianism,
not a Marxist. I'm not a communist.
No,
dude.
but you have.
I'm not saying the
No.
government needs to do this.
I'm not saying you are.
we're going to
I'm
protect
saying
the many.
I'm saying a utilitarian.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a
Perfect.
utilitarian
Perfect.
philosophy.
That's it.
That means you should sacrifice individuals for the collective.
No, I said individuals.
No,
Individuals.
you said the few for the many.
No, the opposite.
we're for
So
the
you should
opposite.
sacrifice the many
No,
for the
no.
few.
No. I'm saying I don't want the government protecting these corporations.
I
these
want
10,
the government
15
protecting. I
corporations.
want the government protecting
want-
everyone equally. I don't
Yeah,
want
that's
them
what
to
I just
care
said.
If I have $1 million or $1 billion, I don't want them to care if I'm
that's
a
what I
CEO
said.
or a worker.
That's what I said.
Okay, so then we agree that they should. treat
When you were
everyone
saying that, I was like, what is he talking about? I'm not making an argument. I'm not making an argument of that. I believe the government should protect everybody.
But I believe they should protect everybody equally. That they should make no
Fine.
distinctions between one person and another. Whether you
A
have $1 million
corporation
or
is not a
$100.
person.
No, they shouldn't make laws for corporations because corporations aren't a real thing.
They are
Corporations
not a real
are
person.
groups of people.
That doesn't matter.
I think that's where your fault is at.
Yeah, I
I love where you're going
not
with it.
comparing
And
apples
I agree
to
with what you're
oranges.
saying, but I think once you have that distinction between a corporation and an individual,
But see-
that's where things are going to be easier for you to explain things.
Yeah. Well, because in my worldview, everything is just
and
people,
I-
right?
and I get
it's
that.
we're just a bunch. A corporation
I
is a
get
bunch
that,
of
but-
individuals coming together to work together.
But that's not how. Even back in when we established this country, it wasn't even like that.
It
back
was
then.
like that.
No, it was
the
not.
legal personhood came a little bit after America was founded by.
there were corporations back then.
There were corporations, but they were considered
More like
groups
slave-
of people.
French,
There were
the
corporations.
French,
The church. No,
They established a lot of businesses.
Slavers
they
were
did.
corporations.
But
The
look,
Dutch
this is what I'm
days.
saying. Corporations as an entity is a new thing. Corporation, the word has been around for a while,
Right,
but it
right,
just
right.
meant a group of people coming together for economic activity.
Right.
But the key
it's
word is
important.
people.
But it's important for you to just have a
Yeah, because I'm
distinction,
talking about individual
because
rights.
when we talk about individual rights,
No, because there.
it's
Okay, look.
specific
This is what I'm
to
saying.
the
Inside,
consumers
look, look.
or
Individual is specific to the individual. Every person that's related to that company is an individual. So if I'll
But
say-
Tony,
we're not talking about that.
I think that's where your fault is at. I get what you're saying.
okay, what makes a corporation a corporation?
Listen to me. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but you're
I
saying
think-
you should make a line.
I'm
asking you what makes a corporation a
I think we should have
corporation.
arguments about individual corporations.
And
I
then
don't
people-
think that.
and
No, see,
then-
no.
and then
See,
people.
that's the opposite of what I think, because that's when you start having conversations about individual corporations, you're choosing winners and losers. Because when you say we, you mean we through the government, which
No,
is
as in
government.
we,
choosing
as in
winners
No,
the
you don't
people.
even have to choose winners or losers. You know what you have to choose? The consumer. Look,
No.
if there's a consumer base, there's going to be corporations out there that are going to make money. And if corporations out there making money, they're going to employ people, which means people are going to have money to buy things. It's a circle. If government ensures that these companies are not, they're not stealing or they're not cheating,
Well, no. Government is supposed to make sure no one is stealing.
and that's all I care about.
Okay. So we
And-
agree
and
that
I
one of the
agree
main
with that.
we agree
Now,
one of the main
as far
functions.
as subsidies and other things,
All right.
if our farmers are struggling because
No, look, okay.
the Dust Bowl or
Here's the
something
problem.
like that,
If our farmers are
that's where they
struggling,
need to become
if
involved.
the farmers
and
are struggling
help
and we as
with that.
Americans feel like we need to help them, then we should help them outside of the government. There's charity. There's, you know what? I'm
Donation
going to
drives.
There is
donation drives. I'm going to purposely pay $5 for this American corn
Right.
versus $2 for this Brazilian corn because I want to support American workers.
Correct.
But you know, if I'm a poor person and I only have $2, I don't think anyone will be mad at me if I get this Brazilian corn.
I would be very mad at you.
Okay, well, then you
I
want
would
me to
judge you.
starve.
Buy American.
Then you want me to starve. So if I can't afford American, I shouldn't be able to get it.
No, but you have to understand this is a capitalist country.
I know, but see,
if you only have $2 to
this
buy
is-
that
no, but
corn,
see, this-
shame on you.
no, but-
because
no.
guess what? You can work overtime.
This is not a
work
capitalist
part-time.
country.
It is
No,
a capitalist country.
it is an
People
individual rights
my mom
country.
And my dad, they were born in Mexico, and when they came to this country,
Wait, why did they
didn't know-
come to this country?
Listen, hold on. Don't change the subject.
No,
here.
I'm not changing
I
something.
will
because
talk
in
about
one
that
of his
once I
arguments,
tell you what I'm about to tell you.
when Lewis brought up the
They
fact
did
that I
not
said you
know
can move
any
to another
English.
state for
They
better
did not know
internet,
any
you said that
English.
was ridiculous.
And guess
But your
what?
parents did.
They succeeded.
Your parents moved to a whole other country.
They succeeded
For other
because this is a
reasons.
capitalist
But part of that.
country. My parents worked 3 or 4 jobs at a time.
Okay, but that's not why.
But
this
this
isn't
is the reason why is because they wanted that $5 corn.
Okay.
That's why.
But
And
listen,
they taught us work ethic
No,
because of that.
They didn't want the $5 corn. They wanted the opportunity that's available in this country uniquely versus where they were at versus Mexico. This country is uniquely.
Okay, but
able
nobody's
to
going to
provide-
move for internet in another state.
Tony,
They
I'm
don't
gonna-
have to.
Tony,
You just have to do the calculus
somebody
for yourself.
once told
you have
me
to
one
mix
thing.
It. It's not the world isn't
The-
simple.
listen,
so you have to look at the internet.
no
you have to
matter
look
how
at the
much
schools,
education
you have
and
to look at the
perspective you
water
have,
quality, all that stuff.
We're veering off. Here's the thing: if you're gonna make an argument, you got to make an argument that is, I would say, reasonable,
Yeah,
and
and
realistic.
very linear,
No, but
like
see,
no
If you're going to the
specific.
extreme about internet and move to another state, that's not realistic.
That is realistic.
No,
Your
it's
parents
not.
moved to a whole other country.
That's not the same thing.
different
Yes.
reasons.
Nobody is
but look,
moving to
it's the-
another
no,
country.
This
See,
it's
this is what I'm
really-
talking
it's
about.
the same thing if you look at it this
That's what
way.
I'm talking about.
Wait, look at it this
No
way.
one's gonna move
It's the
for
same
for
thing.
internet.
You're gonna move for this. If I move here, will I have a better quality of life? Whatever that means. If the answer is yes, then I will move if I can. Right? That's really.
I don't know
what
if
I
I'll move for internet.
Okay,
I'm not
then-
gonna move.
then
Who's
the
gonna move for internet?
Then the internet isn't good enough to improve your quality of life. It's the same calculus, irregardless. Now, let's say everything is equal in both these places, but the only difference.
I don't
is the
think you
internet.
could put life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness with internet. It just doesn't compare. Like
don't know-
if
I don't know
somebody
what you
if
mean
somebody
by that.
moves from a country that like restricts all your freedoms to a country that lets you do
Enables
what you
it?
need to do,
Oh,
enables
enables
it,
your freedom?
That's not the
I
same.
know. That's what I said, though. You have to look at total
And there was
quality of
no
life.
economic
Total quality of
opportunity
life,
in
right.
Mexico.
I know, and
There
there's
was
still.
not.
But what I would argue why there isn't any economic quality is
Because there's no regulation.
No,
There's
the
no
culture.
regulation.
No, hold
There's
on.
no
Whoa,
regulation.
hold on.
There's
Hold
no
on, whoa,
regulation.
Tony.
Corruption.
Let me tell you something.
Because
No
corruption-
regulation, no corruption, nobody collects taxes, no fucking
That's the
roads.
culture.
And guess what?
Everything-
Nobody in Mexico
Everything
are
you're-
making roads
Every
on their own.
everybody. Why though?
And
Because
there's no
it's not.
internet either.
Mexico is a perfect example.
Well, there
of
is-
why
There's internet.
One of
but
the
need
only,
government.
only the middle class and upper class get
Yes.
it.
Get it.
But here is my understanding of why Mexico doesn't. It's where it's at for the most part. It doesn't have a culture to the same quality as Americans. And by what I mean by that,
They're a
wait,
republic-
there's
wait,
corruption.
They're a republic
wait,
just
wait,
like
wait,
us.
wait,
There's
wait.
corruption.
No, wait,
Just
what
like
I mean by that
America.
is America has corruption, but it's one of the least corrupt countries in a statistical
about
sense. In a statistical
think
sense,
so.
You're
culturally speaking, than any
wrong.
other countries.
The
No,
corruption here is worse. You know why?
Because
corruption
we
is
have
worse?
more laws.
You know why corruption is worse here in the U.S. is because it's hidden
Yeah.
so hard.
okay, it might be.
That's why.
It might be. Okay, and I would have to look into what you mean by then, because if
All
it's
right.
hidden, if I can't see it, then you're telling me to believe in something that
All right,
doesn't exist.
look.
No,
Mexico
it-
has
you know.
states. It's a republic just like ours. They have
Has
a constitution.
governors, has
No,
mayors.
but
They have the
it's-
constitution
it's
just
the
like
culture.
ours almost.
It's the culture. It's the
But
culture.
guess what?
Here's the key difference. America
Government does not get
Mexico
involved.
doesn't value individual liberties.
That's why earlier I was asking you, because I wanted to know this for real. Give me an example of a government that's close to what you're saying. You gave me Hong Kong.
Yes.
And I know personally Hong Kong is not a government that promotes freedom and promotes
look it up.
What does that mean promote?
Corrupt.
What does it mean promote?
Intellectual property rights.
What does it mean promote? Because what I'm saying is all you have to do is these very simple things. Make sure
Is
two
that
people
you have to be the top of the top to have a good quality of life in Hong Kong. You have to. If you go to Hong Kong, if you've ever visited there, I've never visited there, but people that have told me that have gone there, Oliver Wu, they'll tell you. There's a 80%, 70% of the people are there are the working class. I mean, those are the like poor of the poor. Their lives are okay. It's not horribly bad, but there's a lot of homelessness. There's a lot of people that don't have medical stuff. The top of the top are the ones that are living it.
See, this is what's hard about this conversation. Almost everything you're talking about, you have to start from the basis that you're not entitled to any of that.
Well, we know that.
We know
Okay,
that.
the
We're
only-
not entitled to that here.
Okay,
What
okay,
we have here,
no.
we work
But we
for.
have it. Not even we. There were generations before us, and they did many hard things. Just like how risky it was to break away from the colonies to explore this land when it was just like wilderness and Indians and all this shit. There was a lot of blood that went into making this country where it is right now,
Yeah.
including slave labor. I will give you that.
Native
But
Americans.
a big part of the culture that what makes America good, as from my understanding, is that we have a culture
Do it
that is
yourself.
very individualistic, that we don't need government, that you just need to government, all it's there to do is these basic things so that you can stay out of, just do that so we can all live civilized and then stay the hell out of our way so we can do whatever we want. Right? But Mexico doesn't have that culture. Other countries don't have that culture. America is the only country in the world that is as strongly individualistic as us. And there are downsides to that. And I'm not saying all these other countries have bad cultures. I'm just saying if we're only talking about economic quality of life, if we're talking about freedom, then on those two specific metrics, America overall, though not completely, there's countries in very specific, they might have a little bit better freedom of speech, they might have a little bit better freedom of whatever.
But you're just throwing another variable. Now first you're saying government needs to be scaled back.
Yes.
And then when I throw you the
But
example of Mexico,
what do I mean by scale back? What do I mean by scale back?
Throw you the scaling back, like making it very basic, all the way to almost to zero. Got it. But whenever I give you,
But do you got it?
But when I give you an example of Mexico, where the regulations are like bare minimum, now it's the culture. You throw another variable in there.
Because the culture.
How do you know what the Mexican culture is?
I know. I can tell from their fruits.
I can tell you right
I think
now,
it's in
they're
the Bible.
greedy,
You can
just
tell
like
the quality
anybody
of a
else.
tree from the fruits it produces. So I'm judging it on that basis. And if you want to give me more information, I'll be open to it and I'll reform.
I'm just saying.
But I'm coming from where I'm at.
I'm
This
just
one
saying.
like the American culture gave birth to the American government, correct? The American people, that's their culture, gave birth to the government. Every government is formed on the backs of the culture of the people below it.
Here's the thing.
To
I'm gonna
any
go back.
degree.
I'm gonna circle back to what I said. People are naturally or innately evil.
No, I'll say people are naturally capable of both. They'll be there.
No, actually, no. Hold on. I'm sorry. Every philosopher that has ever lived says we are evil. The Bible says we are evil.
No,
we're sinful.
the Bible says we're also made in the image of God.
No, but
It doesn't? It doesn't?
the image of the image of.
Yes.
That doesn't mean we are like God. It says we're sinners.
Yes.
We are born sinners, meaning
Yes.
we have evil in us no matter what.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we have only evil.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm only good because my parents taught me to be good. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Okay.
And I'm only good because I'll get caught.
No, but
But let me tell you something.
I will say this.
Let me tell you something.
I will substitute the word evil with self-serving.
Whatever.
That's
okay.
more.
Well, that is where we're coming. Everybody wants to look out for number one.
Yeah. But see, the beauty of America is we harness that evil.
The
whole system is designed for people. You should be able to look out for yourself, and this system works because it functions with that. Everything is based on your self-interest. You do what's best for you.
You want to talk about culture? The culture of America is competition and having more money. And guess
It's
what?
part of it.
And no, hold on.
No, it's part of it.
Hold on. Whoa.
It's all of it. So there's
America-
no Judeo-Christian
no,
value.
hold on,
There's no
hold on.
influence of
No,
Christ.
no.
There's no influence
We're
of
talking
Jews.
about America. America is
We're talking
about
America.
number one,
Which
being
is
number
ourselves.
one, competition,
Yes.
number one, having the most money, having everything that you can, having a yacht, having the American dream, and all
That's
that
true.
shit.
That's part of it.
Okay?
That's
now
part
let
of
me
it.
tell you something.
That's part of
You
it.
want to talk about culture? You fucking take away regulations, and people will do anything to get more money.
I know I would.
No matter
Yes.
what.
And that's good.
So,
No,
so
but let me-
it's good. Okay.
At the
All
cost
right.
of others.
Okay.
No,
let's
wait,
see.
Social Darwinism.
Okay. So you're saying
Social Darwinism.
So you're saying,
wait, no.
I'm a
You-
bank.
Wait, I don't want you to jump there because he said he
I'm a
understood.
bank.
Wait,
I'm a bank. Guess what?
Wait,
Everybody
Juan said I
deposit.
understood.
Wait,
Wait,
hold on.
you
Wait,
said you understood.
Let me finish.
Wait,
Let me finish.
Well, you said I
All right,
understood.
let's
You're gonna go
let's
where I
go
didn't
back.
go.
I am a CEO of a bank. Okay. The FDIC doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
I just wire transferred all the money from the bank to my offshore account. There's no regulations that stop me from doing this.
Wait,
I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
Money? Wait, how much money?
All of it.
$5 billion.
Who gives you $5 billion and you have?
That's how big my bank is.
No.
Customers.
No.
Customers.
Wait.
So
no.
there is no regulation that stops me.
I wanna
the
ground-
CEO.
I
want
want
to
to ground this example in
Bam.
reality.
And guess what?
Who gives
I
$5
just
billion
screwed everybody.
to a CEO that can just do that with a snap of his
Collectively.
fingers?
Hey, there's no regulation that stops me from doing that.
No,
I can put it all
But
in
there is
there.
something.
No,
There's
no.
Common
No. You
sense.
said-
Here's common. Common sense doesn't exist
So,
without regulation.
so you're saying there's a
Are you
regulation
saying-
now that says I don't have control of all the money in the bank?
You're saying that I'm going to be
you
stupid?
said near
in a-
zero. You said near
Not
zero.
an individual.
I did.
Not an individual.
I did.
I'm talking about like a lot of people.
Why would these? Are all these?
Why wouldn't the
how do you?
shareholders stop them?
What amount of
Why
people
wouldn't
has
the board of
five?
The shareholders,
There's no-
they
there's-
just hold them accountable. They don't have
Why
control of
wouldn't
the
the board
money.
of directors
No.
stop them?
Yeah.
What board of directors?
Of the bank.
No,
What are we
there's
talking
no
about?
regulation.
I just fired them because there's no regulations that
The bank
cost me.
doesn't-
I don't have to hold that charter
Right.
of that bank
To keep
liable
it
because
I
I'm not held accountable.
I don't
All
think-
these people, I tricked them into putting their money into my
And
bank,
guess what?
and I
Next week-
wired it away.
He's filing for
That's what's going to
bankruptcy
happen.
next
Okay. Wait, hold on.
He's filing
Few
for
things here.
bankruptcy on
First of
Monday.
all, I don't think you understand that a CEO works for the bank. He is not the king of the bank.
It doesn't matter.
It really
There
does.
is no regulation
It
that
does.
says.
It really does.
Hey guys, I just
So here's what's
secretary
gonna happen.
wire all this money in the
Okay,
bank.
see, here's
Here.
the problem with these examples. They always jump into some fantasy land.
Well,
you have to start in reality.
Hey, you
Okay.
want to go
No,
extreme?
Okay.
Watch.
You wanna go
I'm
extreme?
going to give you a real
No, wait, but
live 1996.
but can I address this example?
1996 example.
Okay.
He's going to give you
The
good.
president of Mexico,
Oh, yeah.
Carlos Salinas, last day of office, wire transferred literally over $30 million to
From-
New York from the
From
Pemex, the
From,
petroleum.
from the
It was
bank.
the bank. It was like
The
Mexican
Bank of Mexico stole millions of dollars from the Mexican people on his final day.
And the months before that, they called it the Black Monday. The Mexico Stock Exchange, it collapsed. They were going through some interest rates. That's where the peso really lost its value.
Yeah.
And it's never recovered since. And after that, once his term was over, he transferred millions of dollars to
On his
New York.
last day, and guess what? He didn't go to prison.
He's not allowed to go back to Mexico. He lives in Paris or he lives in New York. I don't
in
know
New
where
York, New York.
So he's a criminal. So I'm gonna say
No,
this.
he's not a criminal.
He's not a criminal.
There's
because
no- there's
there
no
was
regulation.
nothing that said
He
couldn't
couldn't do
do
it.
that?
And by the way, he was not the only modern day president in Mexico to have done that. The one before that did that too.
Wait,
Maybe not
so
as
he's not a
extreme.
criminal, but he's not allowed in
No,
Mexico?
because there was no regulation.
Dude, they
that
were
stopped
But wait,
killing
why
him.
is he not allowed in Mexico?
Because it's an ethical.
because
They were
after
killing
he
him.
did
Okay,
it,
so wait. So what you're saying is, even though he didn't break the law, he's still being held accountable in Mexico. In that
by
they
the
will murk him.
individual, if you stole my money, I'll beat you up.
yeah, beat you up.
If I see you next time.
Okay, well, I would say Mexico then has a pretty crappy culture. Real quick,
does.
if they never thought
we
to
all-
make
we agree
they
with that.
because if they wait if
But
they
the
never
government
thought to
allows
make
that.
a law of don't steal, because we at least got that down.
Wait, hold on. He didn't steal.
Wait, how did he? Oh, so
He's
it was
not
his money?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well,
Wait,
hold on.
yes or no?
Yeah, it was the money
Or
of,
is it
of
Mexico's
Mexico.
money?
It's okay.
Whose money was it?
Okay, so
It was the people's
he
money.
had control of the money.
Why did the people give
I
him
have
control
no
of the money?
idea. I don't know the
so
details
you
of
have to
that.
go back a little bit because there's a lot
Look
of
into
tendrils
it.
here.
Look
I
into
will,
that.
I
We
will.
can discuss that.
Yeah,
but
and
he
I'll
took
definitely do
that
that.
money.
Yeah,
And
but-
he killed people too.
Yeah, but see, this is what I'm saying.
He killed people, too.
I'm not saying any of that is okay.
But he's not like no one's looking for Interpol. Nobody's looking for him. Mexican authorities.
Well, I don't know how
He's not a
international laws work,
criminal.
but
he's
if
not
he-
a criminal, he's free. He lives
Yeah,
free.
well, I would say
he does
okay,
speeches in the New
so
York.
here's one
Stock
aspect of the
Exchange.
Mexican culture. They never thought to make a law for it to be illegal to steal money. Unless, well, you're describing a situation I don't understand. You can't tell me whose money it is. You can't tell me how it was stolen.
It was
the Bank of Mexico's money.
He
And was he authorized? Did he have the powers to move money?
He
from?
apparently
he did.
There was no regulation to say that he didn't.
Okay,
And
so
not only that, it might have been a combination of the Pemex, which is a petroleum Mexico.
so he was basically a king.
bank.
Because
I
kings
guess.
back in the day, they just held the people's money and they chose to do what to do with it.
Let's just put a link and find out what happened with that.
Okay, I'll find out. But if we can go
Link
to
in
Juan's
description.
example,
Put the link on
real
there.
quick to Juan's example, his scenario is just
zero.
yeah, yeah. But okay, what you're talking about there with the CEO thing, first of all, that's stealing if it is those people's money. So
There's
one of
not
the
a
things the
regulation.
government does is protect your life, your liberty, and your property. Stealing is property. So there would be a legal case there. But let me back up
But if
even
there's
further.
no regulation there, is it really stealing though?
What do you mean if yes,
first of all,
it's my money.
Did I force you to put your money into
in
my
my
bank?
account?
No, what's the deal
Did
we
you
made?
give
What-
me your money
what's
and
the deal
trusted
we
me
made?
with it?
What's
So
the-
guess what?
Wait, no,
No,
that's
no.
no. See, again, you're jumping a little too far into crazy.
no.
You gave the same
No,
example.
you're jumping.
Here,
Wait, you're
here.
jumping.
Put your name right here, and I'm gonna open up an account, and you deposit your
Wait,
money.
Wait. Why am I putting my name right there?
Because you're
I have
this
nuclear
contract?
bombs,
Is this
I
contract?
have-
no, it's just a file so we can make an account for you. There you go. There's no.
So what does
there's
this
no
file
contract.
do?
What? I
Hold
need
your
your
money.
information so that I can create an
Okay.
account. So
What-
that way, when you come here and deposit your money, and you want to take your money
We know where
out,
to put it.
we can take it out. I'll know who you are.
Okay, well, I need to see your Yelp reviews first. I need
Cool.
I need about 3 to 5 references.
Awesome.
I also want to know how long you've been in
No,
business.
first of all, you came to
you.
us. We need references for you.
Hey, if we can't
We
make,
have a lot of
if we,
customers. We don't have
if
time
we
for
can't
this.
make a deal, if we can't make a deal,
You
we
know
can't
what I
make
mean?
a deal. Yeah,
Yeah,
If
we'll
we can't make a
somewhere
deal,
else.
we can't make a deal.
That's
Somebody
cool.
else
Guess
somewhere
what?
else. I
Guess
got
what?
10
There's like
people.
100,000 more people
Yeah.
who
Oh,
waiting.
that's okay. And when you run off with their $5 billion, I'll be like, hey, that's a good thing I didn't make that deal, right?
Yeah, well.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, but see, here's what y'all are missing. You think people are
You
freaking
act like you read
retarded.
the terms and conditions to everything.
No,
that you
but
do.
see, here's the
Well,
thing.
you know you don't.
No, but look, no, I don't
Your
because
Gmail
no,
account,
because in our
Yahoo,
society we do have a
Google.
general expectation of certain things that the government does,
Yeah.
and it offloads.
You
it.
just proved my point.
Wait.
You just proved my point, man.
Wait.
This conversation is done.
No.
The government is there to help us.
No,
And
hold
that's
on.
what I'm
No,
saying.
Government is there
I
to
did-
police.
Hey,
Absolutely.
property.
Absolutely.
Hey, property
Oh,
is
you proved
yours
my point. This
as
is-
long as it's in
No,
your
bro,
possession.
you cut
The
me off.
moment you
You
give
cut
me
me
that
off. You
bill,
cut me off.
you give it
No,
to somebody else.
because but what happened with Cambridge Analytica?
What about it?
It happened to be a situation where people didn't read the terms of services,
Yeah.
like you said, and we had expectations because we felt the government would
And
keep
by
us
the
safe,
way,
and we
Facebook
were
did
wrong.
not break
And
any
I know,
rules.
and we were
They
wrong.
did not break any rules.
And we were wrong.
They're under
But look,
FCC
here's what I'm saying.
investigation, but because
There was no actual law.
There was no law
Okay.
against it. But hold on. With that being said, we expected the government to protect us, right?
Yeah, and that created a false sense of
They
security.
didn't.
The key word is
because there was
false.
No rules over that.
No.
What you're suggesting is that in the future,
No, you want them to
government-
create those rules. No,
less
here,
government
no,
is
right here,
better,
real quick.
but in
I'll
this
say
case,
this.
is not.
No, right here, what you're saying is you would want the government to make those rules so your false sense of security becomes a real sense of security. I want
Yes,
to. So you want
absolutely.
to add more rules
Yes.
to make your false sense of
Yes.
security true.
Yes, because
I
technology
but
improves
see, here's
every
what I
day.
want. Here's what I want.
The
I
times
want
change.
people to lose that false sense of security.
No.
Why?
I don't want. I want to have security.
No, I
don't
said
even
no.
want-
I
don't
didn't
even
say.
want
I
sense of
didn't say security.
I want security.
I didn't say
False
security.
sense. Who cares?
False.
Who cares?
The emphasis
What
I
is
don't
false.
care about sense. I don't care. I want
want
security.
Okay. Well,
That's
you know
what I
what
want.
Benjamin Franklin said? A people that will give up their freedom for security deserves neither and will get neither.
That's not true.
That is 100% true.
He may have said that, but that's not true.
It is true.
It's not true.
Yes.
Why? Give me an example
because
of how
historically,
that
you know
happened.
why all countries, all formations of people had a king, a leader, a tribesman? Because people in the face of anarchy will choose authoritarian dictatorship to feel safe. Freedom is so scary because that's anarchy, total freedom. It's so scary. They would rather be under the boot of someone
believe
that makes
in
them
my
feel safe.
republic because I believe in the judicial branch, executive branch, and the
I
legislature.
don't. Donald
That's
Trump is
why.
president. The freaking Supreme
Not till-
Court
in November. He'll be out, so that doesn't matter. Don't bring
Maybe.
Donald Trump is not. Don't bring him up. Okay.
Okay.
Look,
So
if
you
want
have faith,
credibility,
but you
don't
know
bring
what?
up Trump.
Well, look, the faith you have in our institutions is built on part of the culture that's been built here.
Listen-
But the culture is rotting, so
Listen
it
to
will
me.
affect the government over time.
Tony, what you're missing in your life
It's Jesus.
is this. No, keep away from Jesus. Don't.
No, Jesus is actually pretty good.
No, don't.
Look, our country,
Don't
for
convince
better,
Jesus of anything.
for
okay?
better,
you might
no.
pray really hard one day,
Look.
and he may listen
For
to
better
you.
or worse, our country is
But-
built on the Bible. So if you
but-
don't
but-
have
it
Jesus,
was.
it was.
But here's
swear
my
But
on the
also
Bible.
a few other things
What
too.
you're missing is
But
this.
that's a part.
Tony, all right.
This is what you're missing.
What do you miss?
Because I don't think I would believe, or I don't think I would feel the way that I feel now if I didn't go through this in my life. 10 years ago, I was making some pretty good money, really good money. There wasn't anything that I didn't have to worry about. I mean, I had anything and everything that I wanted, and I got to be around certain people, you know, with money, influence. I got to see these things. I got to live pretty good, right? For a short period of time, 2-3 years, not even that much. And because of that experience, and I'm in the opposite end of that spectrum now, but because I got to live that and I didn't enjoy it, I appreciate it now, and that's what I pursue. I want to go back to that life where I don't have to worry about things. That's my motivation. That's what I want, and it might sound selfish, and it might sound like, man, you're greedy and this, but I want to make a lot of money.
That's
and you
fine.
know what? I live in the right country for that.
No,
And
but
I
you can
owe
make
it-
you can make money like
and
that
I
in
owe
any
it-
country. It's just what you're willing to
listen
do
to
in those
me.
other countries. Here, you have a few
Listen
more
to me.
options.
I live in this country, And I know what other countries are like because my parents have told me, and I've been there, and I've been to other countries.
And you're a tough guy. You have military experience. If you wanted to, you could be running a cartel in Mexico like that, making buku money.
What I'm trying to say is that I live in this country, and I know what I got to do to make money the right way without killing people or without being.
But those rules don't
certain
work in
things.
other countries. They work here, right?
Absolutely.
You know what you need to do for
because
here.
of my government.
No, not because of your
the
government.
history that we've
but
had.
Because
yeah,
of
the
because of
history,
feathers
the
that we've
culture.
had as a government,
yes, it's all
we
built
do
into
really
that.
good.
We do really good because of the people that
There's
came
an
before us.
implicit trust
The
in the
culture,
people.
yeah.
There's an implicit trust.
Yeah. In other countries, you can't just walk outside without a gun.
When the
you
net
can't just
neutrality
trust
thing was
people.
signed, was it like 2 years ago when Obama was in office? 2-3 years ago?
Yeah,
something like that?
2015, I think.
It signaled a time for our government, and that was, you know what? Yes, the consumers are important, but we have to put accountability to these big corporations.
But see, that's not what
there's
that
only like
was.
3 or 4 big corporations that really pour money into these networks and these pipelines.
Yeah, but why is that?
But that's the thing. With that comes responsibility.
No, but
and
you're
accountability.
jumping over.
And
I
the
agree.
government
I
has
agree.
to
The
police
Spider-Man
that.
principle works. With great power comes great responsibility.
Absolutely.
But what I'm asking is, why is there only 3 or 4? And I, if you want, I can give you the answer. The answer is the government decides who can and can't be a network operator. It sells the license. It sells the spectrum. It controls all of that. In a free market,
Right.
these people would be competing. And look, the problem with the monopoly argument from earlier is you can have a monopoly in theory that isn't bad. A monopoly that gives you the lowest possible price and the highest possible quality is a monopoly you want to stay in business.
It's called the post office.
No, that's the terrible.
That's a horrible.
Yes, but like Amazon right now, they're killing it on all
Every-
fronts.
not a monopoly.
But if you're paying attention, Donald Trump and all these a few governors, they're all starting to make noise. Oh, Amazon making too much money. They're destroying jobs. Blah 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 blah.
I don't agree with that.
No, but see, you will when they start taking your job. You will. They will. Amazon is going to eat the world.
I mean, if they buy Tesla one day, I mean, that'd be great.
They'll probably outcompete
because you know
Tesla
what,
to be honest.
Amazon has a lot of money, and they
Amazon
have the ability.
Amazon has barely made any money in its entire 20-year history. You know why? Because
They keep investing.
yes, constantly.
And
So
that's
they very
and
rarely
that's a
make
good
profit.
sign. They have cash.
Yes.
They just don't
No,
have like.
but then it's not a good sign when Donald Trump is saying something like Amazon never pays taxes. Because why does Amazon never pay taxes?
Because
they never make
first
any
of all,
damn money.
First of all, don't bring Trump up in this. He's
No,
not
but
a
see,
good business
it's not
guy.
only Trump. FDR said the same dumbass shit, and he was a Democrat. Oh,
With
these
oil?
companies aren't paying enough taxes. These rich people aren't paying enough taxes. Nah.
Well,
They're gonna be like,
you know, it's a good thing you brought up culture because we're not ready for that, dude.
what, ready for what?
We're not ready.
No,
for
I'm
that.
not saying we need to look. I'm telling you where the goal should be and the direction we need to move in.
We
I'm
don't
not
have
saying
people like
jump
that.
there.
We don't have
We
people
do.
like
We
that.
had those people when this country was founded,
Maybe.
and I
We don't have
know
that now.
for a fact there are people still in this country that believe it. But times they've made us soft. I
What's
think
the
y'all
root
were
of all
talking
evil?
about how y'all are raising your children and stuff.
What-
And if you don't
What's
remember
the
how
root
you're
of
talking
all
about when
evil?
you don't have struggle. Your children kind of get soft. They don't know how to do these things,
Yeah,
and they go out
absolutely.
there like punk bitches, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
This country, it's gotten soft from where we came from, and there's a large amount of us that are basically punk bitches. I
human
include
condition.
myself.
What
I
you
include
need-
myself.
What you
I
need,
include
Tony,
myself.
What you need, Tony, to change your tone is to live an experience, a life experience.
No, but see, I
where,
think-
where you're making money, and I'm not talking about $20 an hour. I'm talking about where you're making thousands of dollars a day,
and then you realize,
and
What
your
I realize?
perspective would change.
yeah, it
How?
will.
But not in a negative way. I don't want you to think that you're gonna like completely change. What you're gonna realize is one thing, is that you're gonna get things that you never knew that you wanted, and you're gonna feel things that you never thought you would feel.
Okay.
And then what's gonna happen is you're gonna come back to where we are now, and you're gonna be like, you know what? I see the good and I see the bad. Right now, all you see is what you learned in a liberal school, probably. I mean,
No, I'm the
I don't know
opposite
what
of
college
that.
you went to, but it's you seem kind of very conservative, very I don't know. You seem very.
No, he's
I'm
not
gonna-
conservative. He's an independent. But I will tell you right now, I agree with my brother.
you need
once-
you need life experience.
No,
you get that
can
life
I push
experience-
back on that? Because life experience trains you in the experiences that you have. It doesn't train you in the world. I'm never
but
going
to
be
be
able
well
to
rounded, you need experiences
No,
everywhere.
okay, but
If you only
If
have
by-
a negative experience or a positive
no,
experience,
but see, if I don't have either, then I can just look at the facts. I don't have
What
to
are
have
the
any
facts?
emotional attachment. The facts are the America is
I'm
the freest
sorry.
country on the earth.
I'm sorry.
It's the richest country
I'm
on the
sorry.
earth, and this is the
Emotional
country where
facts
everyone
are
wants.
And you want to change that?
than
No,
facts.
no, I agree. They're stronger.
Emotional
They're
facts
not
are
truer.
better than
They're
facts.
not truer,
It
but
puts
they are
bias.
stronger.
No,
Okay,
it's not.
so you're
It is a
saying
bias.
that?
It's not if you have both.
Hold on.
No, because your emotions run. People are not
If
factual.
you're rich and poor,
No,
all within
no.
the same year, your emotional facts, they're there.
Okay,
And you're not biased towards anything.
if my kids were in Sandy Hook or South, whatever the Stone Park, Parkland, am I going to be better reasoned with that emotion or worse reasoned about what we should do with guns?
You're biased.
Yes. The emotions make you stupider. And I'm not saying
context,
emotions are bad.
yes.
Yeah. No, all
But
the
I'm
time.
talking about something
there is
different than
almost
that.
no context where you being more emotional makes you a better thinker on the situation.
But Tony, you're kind of saying America is great, but now you
No,
want to change it.
No, America is the worst country on the face of the
You
earth,
did say that before.
Okay.
except for all the other ones. Okay? Let's be clear.
Except for all the
Except
Yes.
for all the 212, including Syria, by the way.
Yes.
That's fucking bullshit.
Yes.
I think we're not the worst country. We're the second.
So you're
worst.
saying I thought you said America was great and all that stuff.
Let me be clear
We're
one more
making
time.
great again.
We're the worst country on earth except for all the other ones.
Okay.
So we're the best of all the terrible ones, which is all of them.
So no country's great.
No. We're the closest to whatever great is, but we're still terrible.
It's so terrible.
But we're
the
in first place.
one.
We're in first place.
We're like second place. Is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
we're like 1,000 miles from the finish line, but we're the furthest ahead.
You're right.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
so and that's basically what I think. But we've done the most. We've also done a lot of bad stuff. But progress it's like the stock market. You know how it goes up and down, but it generally goes that way. Yeah. But there's a lot of downs, and America has gone through that. And like slavery was one of those downs. You know, the
Killing
recession,
millions of Indians.
Well, actually, no, that's not really us because like
their fault.
97% of them died because of germs.
No, 100 million Indians didn't die because
No,
of germs.
97% of the
us.
Native American population in North and South America died due to germ exposure.
Bacteria that we brought.
Yes.
From, yeah.
But how can I
We
be
brought.
responsible for our bacteria?
You
No,
know,
but you know what would have helped them if they had a wall? For real talk. That's real talk. If they had a wall, this is the reason why conservatives are smart in this certain aspect. Walls are good because they keep bad things out.
Okay.
Like germs, like people,
Can I
like
say
other
something
things
real
like that.
So if you were to walk up to this door and it's locked, does that keep
The door like to the house or this door?
Let me ask you just a general question. I'm gonna keep it real simple. What is a locked door there for? What is its job?
The point of a locked door is to separate things on the inside from things on the outside.
from one side or the
who?
other.
From who?
From
I
whoever
would probably
installed
need
it.
more information. What do you mean for like the
Just in general. Just if you.
If I come to a locked door,
What would
I
you do?
assume that the inside are supposed to be kept things from outside, and whoever built the door did it for that purpose.
So the purpose of a locked door is to keep honest people away. A dishonest person does what?
They try to break in.
Absolutely. Now,
No,
a
but
wall,
no,
no matter how big it is.
No, wait, you don't need a
it's
door
not
for that. You
deterrence.
just need
It's
a
gonna-
sign. A sign will keep honest people away. A sign that
Yeah.
says "Don't come
Well,
in."
a locked door will keep them out too.
No, it will. But if you're talking about if we're splitting between honest and regular people, if you want honest people to stay
The
out, all
point
you
that
have
I'm
to do is
trying
put
to
is a
make
sign.
here, Tony, is that no matter how big of a wall that you're going to create or put on, it's not going to keep people away.
I
They're
know
gonna
that's why
figure out
this
ways
house
to
doesn't
go
have
around.
any walls because there's no point. It's if someone wants to get in here, they'll get in here. So why waste the money on walls? That's why we just look out into this.
You just
Because
said
it'll
the
keep
wall.
honest people away.
Huh?
Because it keeps honest people away.
Okay, no,
And we want our privacy.
Honest people will stay away regardless. We
And
understand.
guess
In
what?
this culture,
in this house,
we recognize
we
private
have
property.
things to be able to console people breaking in.
Yeah, but look,
Right?
the walls are
We
part
have
of that.
security,
The
we have
walls, no,
guns.
the walls, they are not for honest people. They're for dishonest people. It's level 1 for dishonest people. Now, dishonest people that really want to get in, they might have to break through concrete wall. You know, like there's layers to
Exactly.
security.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're proving my point.
Well, what's,
So why invest billions of dollars on something that's not going to keep the dishonest
I thought
people
we were
away?
going to talk about Trump. Man.
All right. Well,
Nah.
anyways,
Fuck Trump.
I've only had one question about big government. All right, because basically the topic
We're still
is
talking about net neutrality.
The topic, no, actually, the topic is actually
Government,
is
big
how
government.
big should government be? That's really what the topic has been the whole time.
Oh,
But my only had one question that I've been wanting to ask this entire time, and it's really a simple ask question. I don't want it to. I don't want it to like linger too much. Really. I'm not. I really don't.
Right.
But I just want a very like.
don't ask.
I just want a
In
straightforward.
3 words.
I just want a straightforward answer on. I tried to. We had this. The debate that you guys are having right now. I had this debate with Tony months ago,
All right.
and I tried to counter him, and it didn't work. Of course. I
That's
asked
your
him.
opinion.
I asked him about the FDA. I was like, he said regulations. They can scale back to like near zero. And I said, well, what about the FDA? They protect us so that we don't eat bad meat. And then Tony replied back saying, well, why would you buy bad meat, or why would a company actively poison its consumers, its people?
Let's go back to the jungle.
What about E. coli that's fucking breaking
The
out right now in the
lettuce.
lettuce?
okay. Why is it breaking out in the lettuce?
I'm
we have
gl- I'm-
regulation.
I-
Wait, we have the FDA.
I am
We
so
have
glad.
regulation, right?
I am so glad that the CDC, who's
Government.
government. Oh,
Yeah.
sent out a message to all of us to look out for this lettuce.
I would.
If the
I would be okay with
CDC
that, too.
wasn't available,
Well, the CDC might
we'd
be
all
one
be
of those
getting-
essential functions, but even if it wasn't, I would assume that whatever company is selling this lettuce, they can do two things. They can do the Jason thing and lie their asses off and be like, you know what, we don't know what's happening.
right?
And it'll probably turn out worse for them because usually in a situation where you've done something wrong and you lie to cover it up,
And a scandal.
like a scandal, what
Stock
happens
prices
is
go down.
stock prices go down, you go corrupt, and then not only that, but the citizenry will start getting angry. Just like that Mexican president can't come back into Mexico. If you really do something bad, you create a very hostile climate on all levels. That includes politically and culturally.
So you're saying we should lynch them?
I'm not saying we should lynch them. I'm saying if they do something like that, especially if it kills people or hurts people, we should have those laws. Because remember, the laws that I want protect people from fighting each other or hurting each other. Now, if you make a deal with someone to buy lettuce and the deal is, I don't know where this lettuce came from, but I'll sell it to you for $1 and I'm holding no liability, then you have to make that deal in full awareness. So I'm telling you, I don't know where it came from, and you're going to decide to buy it. Now, if our deal is, this is clean lettuce.
You're assuming that there's a lot of smart people out
No,
there.
I'm not.
Yeah, you
these
are.
These
Yes,
are
you
not.
are.
Yeah, you are.
No, these aren't smart people things. These are normal people things that we had
Really?
102,
Spend
200.
some time in the military,
No,
man. You
bro,
got some
no,
dumb
look.
motherfuckers.
200
Some
years
dumb
ago,
motherfuckers.
this was normal common sense. We've lost this common sense because the new common sense is trust the government. If that wasn't in our common sense, our old common sense, which we had before this 200 years of the growth of government, would be, I don't know you. Who the hell are you? Acreage Farms. I'm not going to buy lettuce from you. I'm going to grow my own lettuce. Oh, now someone wants to sell me lettuce? I don't know if I can trust you. Oh, you're going to offer it to me for super
Okay, but
low
you're
prices?
saying all
You're
these
starting to tempt me.
things.
No, because this is normal
Hold
consumer
on, hold
logic.
on,
If
hold
you
on.
think about it,
Yeah.
you'll make something yourself if it
I
saves
got,
you money.
I got it, but the CDC's still there for
No, and
these
I'm not
things.
saying the CDC shouldn't be there. That's
but
not one of the ones.
he's talking about that.
The FDA.
The FDA is there for protection.
The FDA,
A certain thing. CDC has the same function as the FDA,
It's
just
debate-
in a different
and
thing.
by the way, the notion that you're saying that just because government's involved, things can still go bad.
No, things can go bad
But
either way.
there's recourses. There's things that we could do to react to specific things. Like
Contingencies, yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
right? Because without that, what would your
No, but
resolution
you-
be?
Well, it depends on what the problem is. Give me a
You-
solution
would you-
without government.
Well, let's not go that far.
No,
The lettuce contamination.
Okay, the
There's
lettuce
22 states. 22 states in the past 2 days. 2 more states.
20
Okay,
states, yeah.
So
So,
this
so
is,
what would your? Is it by the state or is it by the city? Like,
Okay.
how would we handle that?
I'm
Communication is key.
gonna
Go
give you
ahead.
my ideal. My ideal right now is there's just so much I don't know. There's so much that I don't understand, and there's so much history that you have to. There's so much things mixed in. It's hard to get a pure sample in a lot of situations to be like, oh, when you try just this idea and hold everything else constant, this works like this. You know, like in science, you can see what variables.
But
do
the
what.
FDA has
Wait,
that.
wait.
They have
No, wait,
experience.
this
They
is what I'm
know.
saying.
They communicate.
Right now, we don't have a lot of experiments that are similar where we can hold controls. But the country was designed. I think y'all have heard the phrase laboratories of democracy. The federal government was supposed to do very small, very basic things and let the states do all kinds of crazy experimentation.
And that's what
And we
they're
would have
supposed to
50
do.
different opportunities or whatever number of
Right,
states when
right.
we started to try different things and see which one worked. If Massachusetts is doing this and all the people are running over
They
to
can
Massachusetts.
communicate that, yeah.
Not even communicate. Texas will see, oh, damn, we're losing all of our citizens to Massachusetts. We need to start doing what Massachusetts is doing. And then like a market
helps.
system, the signals start going to each other. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's
Yeah,
not
but
do
this is a federal thing. This is not a state to state
No,
thing.
but see, why shouldn't it be a
widespread.
state thing? Maybe,
It
and
is.
I'm-
But
and I'm-
state is still
No,
government.
It
Yeah.
is concurrently
No,
with
but
what
see,
the federal
here's the
government
difference
is
with the
doing.
state government. If Texas does something bad, I can go to New Mexico. If the United States does something bad, what? I'm a citizen of the U.S. It's very hard to go anywhere else. But with the state
But
system, how we had it
you
designed,
didn't bring a
you can move.
resolution. The resolution here is
For
that
the lettuce thing,
Wait.
I would say this. In the society that, if we just go back to 1776 or that time, how everything was set up, most of those people wouldn't have bought that lettuce because they don't know you. And if they do know you, you built a reputation over hundreds of years. And a reputation, what does they say? It takes a lifetime to earn, a second to lose, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so reputations are big. JP Morgan Chase, even if there was no FDIC, I'm jumping a little bit, but one of the things that makes them very powerful is
They're
they have-
trusted as
they're-
fuck.
Yeah, they have a long history, a track record. People respect that. They have long-term thinking because they want this company to last for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years.
but they sunk the Titanic.
Did they?
Yeah, I watched the movie.
I'm not sure. I haven't actually.
Well, anyways, so
But-
but let's
No,
go
but
back
see,
to
no people. You have to factor.
about the
Okay,
FDA.
there's
Okay,
no version of this.
your question
where-
was this.
There's no version of this where people weren't going to get sick. Okay, but just like when you're
Outbreaks happen.
yeah, outbreaks happen.
You know what I
But-
mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but the system will correct over time Because people will learn, oh, that company, they sell rotten lettuce. Even if they made one mistake once and for the entire rest of their life, they never make a mistake. People are going to not buy from them forever because it'll stain their reputation.
But
Don't buy
Tony,
because they're
you
ice
seem
cream.
like a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
What if you found a way to be able to prevent this from happening in the future?
Then what would be the way though? Because
But see, the thing is,
you know, one way I might do it, I might start my own lettuce company, and I'm going to ensure even greater quality protections. But you might have to pay a few.
no,
extra
because
bucks
there's
more.
like 3 or 4 companies out there that have hundreds of years of good reputation that you can't.
Well,
compete
one of them
against.
just sunk it.
Now check this out.
Right?
That's okay.
Somebody
There's
just
still
sunk-
3 out there.
Okay.
Now check this out.
They're all on the chopping block, and they've got a signal,
But
just
if
like in
you
the state.
discovered it by accident, there's nothing that's going to motivate you to make a business out of that.
Discovered what? That this company
A way to
has-
prevent, from these type of E.
Yes,
coli
there is. Hey,
outbreaks.
I start advertising. Hey, do you know about this thing called E. coli? First, I'm gonna have to spend a marketing budget on educating the consumer. There's this thing called E. coli. It's pretty dangerous.
Yeah,
You've
but where are
heard
you
of
going to
it?
get this money from? And who's going to believe
I don't.
in you
Where
to
does
do that?
anybody get any money from?
These big 3 companies are going to smash you like you're a rat.
I know. That's why Elon Musk should have just
You
gave up
understand
on
what I'm
cars.
saying?
I mean, he has to fight GM, Ford, and what's the other big one? Dodge.
But
Chrysler.
now,
Chrysler.
now,
so
now that I
obviously,
said all that,
Elon Musk should never
now,
have done anything. Right?
government, because they don't want to profit in it, they will educate and they will get federal
No, but
funding
people educate
to
too.
educate every state that harvests
Here, when I
lettuce
was,
and
when I
all
was
that kind
first
of
on the
stuff.
internet, I was using Yahoo. You know what got me into Google? Google was constantly spamming me advertising.
I remember that.
We have the fastest searches. We have the bestest. They were constantly
I remember
educating
that,
me
actually.
on their product.
I went through the same
yeah.
thing.
And
I remember
I was
They're
stupid
good.
too.
They were good.
I was loyal to Yahoo.
They got me with Gmail. I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
man, I don't even know
Yeah,
what that
and
is.
I was
Super
loyal to
hardcore,
Yahoo
yeah.
because I'd been using it so long. I was just kind of stuck in my ways,
Yeah.
so I just didn't want to leave. But at a certain point, I started doing Yahoo searches, and I couldn't find what I was looking for. I go to Google, it would be the first
there.
damn thing.
They're
I was
good.
like,
They're good.
Yeah.
for everything.
They're
Yes.
good.
But it was for me personally. They were educating me constantly, but I just didn't want to give up. And at some point, the benefits were so better than the risk. I was like, I gotta switch over. That's the same thing every company does. There's a company right now that's making home meat that you don't have to kill an animal for. It's grown in a lab. Now that sounds like some scary sci-fi shit. So you know what they have to do?
KFC.
It's not KFC. It's a company Just. It's called Just. They have like a Just mayo. It's mayonnaise that's made from no eggs. Like no from chickens. And what they're trying to do is get to a world where we're not constantly slaughtering animals, like these like Gestapo looking like animal farms
Right.
where everyone's like suffering. They want to get rid of that. So they've been trying to do that. And there are people that started off with that expensive mayo. It was more expensive, but there's a lot of rich people that feel like animals shouldn't be messed with, so they were able to sell to that market first. Now, you might say, oh, everyone should be able to afford this mayo, but if everyone had to be able to afford the mayo at the same time, that company would have never got off the ground. They started with the rich people because they had the ethics and the money, this cross-section of consumers that they needed. And then they used them, just like Elon Musk did with the Roadster. You start with the rich people that have the money and the ethics, like either maybe the ethics or the car was just cool, like they wanted to help the environment, or
a
it
little
was
bit
just
of
a
both.
badass car,
Yeah.
or some combination of two. He started with them, and the money from that he used to
And
make
reinvest it.
to the Model S, and then so there
Model
are
3.
ways
Yeah,
to get the money.
That's
even
exactly
without
what
somebody
his
giving it to you.
plan was the whole time.
But that's what most businesses do. You target to the rich people first, and then the money you make from them, you use to target more people and more people. And if you don't, then the next person will see all the fat margins you're making off the rich people because you're the only person doing it, and they're going to be like, let me get in that business. And then you start fighting for prices, and they start coming down.
Right.
So the reason why I brought that up for the meat example is they're constant. I'm always seeing ads for them, or I'm reading articles I'm a little interested in, so I'm going to them. But sometimes, I guess because Facebook and Google are always tracking me, they send me stuff from them because like I'm always searching
I
for them.
hate that, man.
But I'm okay with it because like I want to know more about this company. So in my situation, it's actually helped me. I mean, they're always trying to sell me shit, and it's out of my price range, but I'm still interested. Like I'm hoping one day it'll get to poor people prices so I can afford it, because I don't want animals to die just so I can live and eat and stuff. But at the same time, I want to live. So.
Okay.
But the reason why I'm saying is that a part of a strategy of a company, just like any company you think of that's innovative, strategy one is to spend marketing on advertising the project. And advertising, it's got a bad rap, but all you're really doing is educating the market. You tell them, hey,
You
buy
can do
my
marketing
lettuce.
with outreach. Outreach means you're educating people.
And you still have to spend
You're-
money
you're
on
not,
that to a
you're
certain
not
degree.
selling a service or a product,
Yeah.
but you're
But that's a form
education,
of advertising.
and you're
You're
promoting your
going out and
company
letting
at the same
people know.
time. I know all about that.
Like my brother, sometimes he'll just go out and he'll just talk. He won't even be like selling anything. He'll just be like, "Hey, this is our company. This is what we do." I'm not
If
trying
you
to sell
educate somebody the right way,
Yeah.
they'll make their own decision.
Exactly. So
And-
this is what I'm saying.
yeah.
With that lettuce example, I might have to charge a couple of dollars extra to make my lettuce a little more safer, but I'm going to tell you why you're paying more. Now, if I'm just charging $2 for no goddamn reason, I'm just saying pay me more money because to pay me more money. But if I can tell you why, well, we wash our lettuce 3 times. The other guys only do it once. We also put it through UV lights to kill all the bacteria, and we do it 5 times. And then you're telling them all the extra things you're doing. They'll be like, okay, That makes sense. And then some people are going to be like, I don't think we need all that stuff.
But
like, lettuce is lettuce.
what if federal government tells these corporations to do that mandated?
The problem with that I don't like.
See what I mean? They're already doing that. That's
Yes.
what I'm trying to say.
No, but taking away
the
liberty,
scientists, they
Yeah.
already know what they need to do to prevent from these things from
Yeah,
happening.
and see, scientists
but
will
the
still be
type
able to communicate
of
that.
E. coli outbreak that's going on right now is something that's never really happened
But see,
before.
that kind of stuff
It's
is
a
going to happen
strand-
regardless of government or not.
So what you're suggesting here is that your theory would be, I'm going to charge a little bit more money to prevent this from happening by doing this.
No, but see,
But that's not gonna stop a
No, but what
different
was my
strand
original
of
premise?
coming back.
There's no way to take all the risk out of the system. You can only create the illusion of taking all the
there's
risk.
not.
Life is a risky proposition. Everything is trying to kill you all the
But
damn
the
time.
federal government is going to be able to say, hey, you know what? As a corporation, we know that the cost to operate this, you can't be charging these customers this much, or
no.
we're not going to
But
subsidize
see,
it anymore.
my thing is, why are we even telling them? Why can't the consumer tell?
Because they're protecting me.
No, they're not. Because
Yes, they are.
you're going
They're
to wait,
making sure that I don't pay a lot for the fucking.
The masses
whatever.
aren't as
Hold on,
smart
hold
as
on.
you think.
No,
man.
they don't have to be smart in one instant. Look, if you, let's say you're stupid and you go buy to the lettuce company and they're like, hey, we'll sell you this lettuce for $4, right? You buy it
Yeah,
for
it's
$4.
thoughtless for me. I buy lettuce. I buy salad
Okay,
stuff.
so
all
you
the
buy
time.
it for $4,
It's thoughtless.
and
I
then
get it.
we're talking one time like, hey, you buy that lettuce, I buy that lettuce too. How much you pay for it? $4. Really? I got mine for 50 cents. You're like, how the hell?
That's happened before.
Yeah, and how? So you might ask some questions.
Organic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe it's the same thing. Like
Yeah.
it's the same, and I tell you it's the same quality. Then I can let you know the company that I'm shopping with, and now you're. Why wouldn't you shop with my company? Either the one that like I founded, or it's just the company that I trust to give me 50-cent lettuce for a good price, and then you make that decision. People are information networks. Like gossip is a human invention, but it's built up through evolution. It's the same as a Yelp review. We tell each other these kind of things like,
All the
you don't
time.
want to shop with that contractor, bro. Like, I know his prices are pretty good, but when he worked on my house, bro, he fucked it up.
All right, let's talk about national security.
What? You want to talk
That-
about that? That was
no.
not on the docket, was it?
That is
No, that's part of
That's part of it.
Okay.
That's
Well,
big
that's
time.
okay. Well,
You know,
I don't know.
that's what a lot of people don't understand. No,
Yeah, I know.
Louis,
My show
listen,
notes don't say
Louis,
nothing about now.
Louis.
oh, as far as I can, well,
This has a lot. The
Yeah.
FDA has a lot to do
Yeah.
with our national
It
security.
does.
before we
Okay.
jump into that, I just want to like
You
outline
understand what I'm saying?
exactly
We're
what.
bringing in produce. We're importing it from different companies,
Yeah.
from different countries.
That's what I'm talking about.
Do you understand what
Okay.
I'm saying?
The reason why we
That's
the,
why the FDA is
hold
so
on, let
important.
me talk.
All
The
right.
reason why we subsidize a lot of these things, the
Okay.
food, the industry, the meats and everything, that is a
Farming.
national
limit.
security thing for the entire country. That's the reason why we subsidize lines of communication, which is roads, which is the power lines,
Telephone,
which is the telephone lines,
internet.
all lines of communications.
Radio.
They're
I would
controlled
just
by
say
the
real quickly,
government.
I'd rather they be
for
subsidized by
the-
insurance companies
For
like
that
Geico.
reason.
You said that before.
They don't
Yeah.
want terrorists or whatever entities fucking with our food supply, our water supply, our fuel supply, our roads, our means of transportation. Because if there's an invasion, we want to get there quick.
But I would say also
Or
the
the
companies that are
air.
making this stuff, they would also not want them to fuck with this shit.
Of
Right?
course not.
yeah, but if you decentralize everything, no
Or,
one's gonna work.
again, I'm not saying
Hold
everything.
on,
Remember,
whoa,
I'm
whoa,
saying
whoa,
close to
whoa.
zero.
No,
But
no,
I'm
no,
not
Whoa,
saying
hold
coordination.
on. If you decentralize these things, everybody's going to be working in
There's no
pockets.
coordination.
There's no coordination.
Okay, but that's the downside. The upside is you can't take out everything from one hit. That's why a decentralized internet.
No.
Yes.
You can literally
No.
take out an entire food supply with one hit.
If
and
it's,
just
if
knock
it's
it out.
centralized, you can because you just have to hit the head
But
and
not
everything falls.
centralized in the form of a physical form.
Yeah, physical.
We're talking about networking, communicating.
completely.
Like
Yeah.
this industry is
The-
communicating
yeah,
with this
I'm
industry
okay with a
for
network.
government to make sure
is-
that it operates
it's
no
not-
matter
yeah.
where we're hit.
Like
In the
let's
East
say
Coast, West
if we
Coast.
don't have a government entity that can coordinate the entire food industry, then no one will.
Okay.
So then, if this guy gets hit, this guy gets hit, this guy gets
Then we're
hit,
screwed.
by the time that they start talking to each other, everyone's gonna get hit.
I'll say
Now, if I'm a government entity that says, "Oh, these motherfuckers got hit," bam, I'm gonna talk
We
to
already
everybody.
have
Hey, everybody, look out for this. This guy just got hit.
Well, I would say
Then
that-
everybody's
I would-
gonna be informed
I would
right
say
off the
there's
bat.
levels of this. Let's say like we
That
just
is a national security thing.
Let's say we have an organization called the NSA. They do national security, right?
Who's that?
No, remember I didn't say zero, and I keep trying to emphasize it. And I haven't even said exactly how close to zero, but I want to make sure the things that I feel like a government. I want to go to the philosophy, and I'll jump right to the specific. All right, what a government should do is should protect people from each other. So, because obviously sometimes there's going to be bad people within a
Right.
country. And they're going to do stuff, and you should protect them when
Tony,
they attack
give
your
me
life,
your
liberty.
money.
Give me your money.
Yes, life, liberty, and property if they're attacking that. But you should also protect the citizens within the country from threats outside the country,
Right.
because we have a certain set of
Absolutely.
values, a certain form
Or
of government. And we
domestic
want to protect
terrorism.
that. Yeah. So the domestic terrorist would be one of our citizens attacking our government, our infrastructure, our people. Well, no, our government.
Well,
really.
I consider the FDA part of like national
That is-
security.
that's
I did not think about that actually. I
Absolutely
really
is.
didn't.
This is
well,
the
no,
reason why I
I
bring
was
it up.
wanting to get to that, but
I gotta tie it all in.
okay. So national security, that could be an area where it's a legitimate thing the government does because it's protecting the citizens from outside.
And the,
forces.
the NSA
But wait,
does that too.
But we should remember that we're trying to live in a country whose ideal is individual liberty. So even though security is a concern, we should balance it with individual liberty. Now, with what you're saying, let's say if it was a complete free market, we're buying stuff. Some people are buying stuff from America. Some people are buying stuff from outside the country. Maybe outside the country, they make it super cheap.
Yeah.
So like
Happens all the time.
Yeah, all the time. So they're making it cheap. That country, their citizens are good. We're good. And now there's better communications and more lines of stuff between us. So our two countries are going to go closer. That's one less enemy. That's a plus for national security.
Of course.
Okay. But if we have the ethos we have now of protectionism and stuff, then it's good for our American workers. But people outside, they're going to be looking in like, oh, y'all got all this money, y'all got this, and y'all don't want to help us. And then you're doing all this shady stuff. Like people, when they see something good, like I heard one of the reasons why everybody turned on Jesus is because he was this bright light. You know, when you saw him, you could see all your own imperfections instantly because he was doing everything right.
Correct.
People don't like to feel like they're bad people.
He's
And
still
there's-
guilty.
In other words,
and there's two
we're
ways to correct
evil.
that. No, well, not evil, but we all feel shame. And there's two ways that people deal with it. Some people rise to the occasion. They're like, you know what? You're showing me my mistakes. I'm going to get better. Other people will try to kill the light, kill the thing that's shining on their imperfections. Because both things do about the same thing. They feel similar, but one's a lot easier. I don't have to do shit. We just have to get rid of this guy that's calling us out on our bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if
And
he's not calling us out-
and Jesus actually did call
Yes.
people out on their bullshit.
Exactly. And
Like
that's why
here's
they
a
murdered
stone.
him.
Throw one of y'all
He-
throw that first stone.
He
Cast
was
that
not
stone.
without
That's
sin.
it.
Cast the first
First
stone.
stone. There you go.
And nobody could cast the stone. In fact, only Jesus probably could have, but he chose not to.
Probably.
I know, right?
I mean, there's like historic.
Right. Anyways,
we're not going to get into
got
that.
it. Yeah.
But
We don't talk in this podcast. We don't talk about religion or politics.
we'll save the religion-y stuff. for
Okay.
another
Well, anyway.
time. But the reason, so like people don't like seeing their imperfections and whatnot, so they will just go after whatever is showing the light on their stuff. So,
In general, you're for national security.
yeah, because that's one of the key functions. At least as far as I
he
can tell.
did mention four things
Yeah.
that he does.
Yeah,
feel
like
was
it's like you
fundamental
should protect people from each other and from outside. Well, pretty much just people from each other. That covers it for the most part.
So
Your
what you're
freedoms need to
saying
end where my
is,
freedoms begin.
so you're saying
Does that make
is,
sense? Like, I
we
can
should
swing my-
subsidize the
Why?
medical
No,
field.
no,
Why not? No. Watch.
Because
watch this story.
because
What if I'm ill-intended
Yeah.
and I have this virus, this E. coli virus that I know the government doesn't have an answer to, and I go to the nearest fucking farm or whatever, and I start spraying that bitch everywhere?
Okay, so like you're like some kind of.
How is the government going to protect me from me?
or
You
protect
can- they
us
can't.
from a bad actor.
From a bad actor like me.
The government.
That's why it's important
Wait.
that
The
we
gov-
have these.
How would the
things.
government protect you now?
They have a lot of measures now.
No, you said it's an E. coli virus that they don't have anything for now.
Well,
right?
no, I mean not that strain, but the CDC got involved. As soon as these people started getting sick, they fucking deployed people to
Everything.
go find out
Okay,
what the
so
hell's
what
going
I'm
on with
saying
these
is
people.
right now we have things called drug companies, and they make money by making people not sick.
But guess what? Those drug companies don't give a fuck about preventing anything.
Yeah.
They want people to get sick. They can sell shit.
Okay.
So don't go there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like that's not.
No,
that's
wait,
not a
wait,
that's
they're
not there to
that's
cure. They're there to.
They're there to profit.
They're
Yeah.
making money now. And if you talk about hospitals and shit like that, then we can talk
Hospitals
about that.
are also
but don't
making
talk
money.
about
They,
drugs.
the
right
longer
now.
you stay there, the more money they make off of you.
Well, then that's another thing.
So they want you to have a chronic condition that keeps you in that bed forever.
I agree with
medicine
that.
companies probably do.
Yeah, but see, there's that's why you have in a free society you'll have conflicting interests.
So
the
you're
reason
saying-
why our system was designed the way it was is everyone has powers that block each other, right? Like the
That's a
executive wants to
good
do
thing.
one thing, but so you want things that like they have to fight each other,
Balance.
they run into each other, and
Yeah.
it creates a balance.
Yeah.
The free market will do the same thing. So do the companies want you to be sick so they can sell you stuff? Yes. Do you want to be sick? No. So
The government doesn't want me to be sick either.
the government is.
I
they
won't
be able to
They
pay
don't want
taxes.
chaos.
It depends. I mean,
They don't want
you know,
chaos.
If
Chaos disrupts.
what's the company? If
the
Tylenol
flow.
wants to give me a government employee $1 million just cause, you know, maybe the government does want me to get sick. I mean, it's just a little bit of sick, you know? It's the cold. Who's it gonna affect? I get $1 million, you get a runny nose, we're all gravy, right? That's ethical, right? No.
That's how AIDS started, like that. That conversation.
See, you start with
Like,
there's these
give
little
you a little,
man,
just a
yeah,
little
we
HIV.
can get rid
the
of
government is
gays,
not
we'll
a
be
foolproof
fine.
system. I
Just
would
the
imagine,
gays.
Yeah, just the
I would
gays.
imagine in a free society there would be companies trying to do that, but they're all fighting with each other. So one company might want to get you sick so they can sell you their drug, but this other company will also want to sell their drug. And the one way you could outcompete them is like my medicine costs less and it will keep you healthier for longer. So see, then they start pushing it through.
You know, that would be all nice and shit, but that's not how medicine companies work.
No, that's not how they work now, but we don't live in a free market for medicine. That's
We
true.
do.
All right,
Y'all
so-
already say we have a bunch of government now. So
Look,
y'all
here's
do
an
that.
extreme example. There's that fucking fucker face, and I call him a fucker face.
Yeah, Martin Shkreli.
How much did he sell that shit for?
A lot.
Ungodly amounts.
And
Okay.
it wasn't even
And
worth-
you're okay with that?
It wasn't worth
You-
shit.
are you okay with
Wait,
that?
well,
Because it almost
Is
sounds
he
like you're
going
okay
to
with
jail? He's going to jail.
Yeah, you go to prison.
yeah, he's already in prison.
Yeah,
I
he's in
think.
prison.
Yeah,
They-
that motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you explain that?
How do you explain
This is what I'm
that?
saying.
Without government.
Wait,
Without
wait.
government.
Please.
He,
'Cause I want to hear
will
your
say
shit.
this is one of those areas where
Technically, he didn't do anything wrong.
He didn't. He didn't.
He just charged up the fucking crap out of
Yeah,
that.
and if
damn-
it's his, he should be able to.
But what he did wrong was that
Oh, yeah, he did something wrong. I just
he had investors invest in something
Oh, yeah, he
on
got-
false pretenses.
Yeah. No, he had like
That
like
he
a
does something
was it like a Ponzi
that
scheme?
it wasn't. It
I
might have
don't
been.
know. I don't know all the
Oh,
details.
I remember
Been.
he had like a hedge fund and he was like investing people's money
Right,
like it's a
right.
hedge fund, but he was taking profits off the top that he wasn't supposed to.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay,
Something
okay.
like that.
So
it
he
wasn't
was
even
stealing
related.
money,
He
and
was-
on top of that,
he
fucking
was
charging a
trading
shit
on
ton of
that.
money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, that was the hedge fund thing. That was separate from
Wait,
the
no,
drug
I know,
company
I know,
thing.
I know.
But
People hated him
I would
for
say
that.
that the drug thing is one of those things because I believe in conversation, all right? Because I don't know everything. I want to be able to talk to people, get new ideas. My goal is always to meet like really smart, interesting people.
Should your idea be protected?
What idea?
Yeah.
Your idea.
The one.
Your
that I'm-
idea.
What you just said.
Let's say you create
Yeah,
a
we have
pill.
freedom of speech.
'Cause
No, wait, hold on.
Because you have
Hold
the
on,
key to life.
No, not idea. I mean your actual idea that your invention.
Okay,
your
see, no,
idea.
that's what I was about to get to. So I wanted to start saying I believe
Proprietary.
in conversation because I don't have all the answers, and I really want to meet smart people that know things that I don't know, ideas that can explain it well, because I want them to become a voice in my head. So anytime I'm thinking about something, I'll have my voice, and then I'll have Carlo being like, "Hey, but you didn't think about
James
this, this, and this."
Comey beautifully illustrated exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, you want like
the
a
external forces out. So when you go through a traumatic experience or something like that, or you go through some type of bad situation, you can relay to these external. Like if you go internal, like Trump does, he's more like it's about what I want, what's going to benefit me. But when you go like to philosophers, religious people, theologians or whatever, people that
like
are
people
smart,
that can be
right,
outside of the
they can
situation,
give
make
you
them
a balanced
yeah.
decision
Yeah.
based on.
Give me a few different perspectives.
Exactly.
So that's what I want.
I love what you just
Yeah,
said.
because I like Lewis. I know Lewis so well. Sometimes he's a voice in my head, so I can just imagine what he would say about something. Usually, it's more like funny or something. So it's not like helping me in life. Besides, make me. It's a funny joke.
Yeah,
so it
Louis
makes
like
me
the
feel better.
last person you should probably go to.
I mean,
Nah.
yeah, but
No,
like that's my goal. I
Some-
would,
no, he
Sometimes
does
I
that
say
stuff.
shit, but
yeah, he does have insights that
He has a
time
good
too.
heart.
Well, so
Yes, he
going
does.
back to your idea, let's say you come up with
No.
an idea.
No, well, okay, so
you should
the-
be able to price it
Wait,
any way you want.
This is what I was trying to get to. Okay, so I believe in the conversation thing, and that's why I like the freedom of speech. I like that it's our first most protected right. Going to the idea thing. This is one of those tricky things where people that think like me, we're on two different sides. The way that I like to think about it, but I don't know if it's functionally true. But if I'm just logicking it out, just thinking about it, I don't think you can invent anything. I think you can discover things.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is,
I agree with that.
like this.
I mean, that's semantics, man. That's
Okay.
No,
semantics, man.
these are real things.
he's
Because when
told me this before.
Yeah, if you discover something,
Yeah.
you didn't actually make it. You don't have any ownership right of it. You were just the first person to get there. So you have first person rights, but you don't have I made this rights. Does that make sense?
Really? Are you sure?
Yes.
So somebody discovered a phone,
Yes. Someone
or the components.
they
to the
discovered the components of the phone, and they discovered a way to put them together.
But it's improved
And-
since it was actually invented.
phone? Okay.
Yes.
So okay.
Well,
so
in
then
our current
I want to
system-
know where you're going with this.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so
Then
if
what?
you make things a discovery, if everything's a discovery, you have different rights to them than if you created it yourself. Like this is a part of you. It's
Okay,
your property.
I gotta disagree with you. Discovering something is coming about something and finding it. When you're physically making something, that's
You're coming
inventing.
across a pattern.
No.
Yeah. So for example,
No,
all the
discovering
wait,
is going out into space and discovering
wait,
something
wait,
that
no,
already
no,
exists.
real quick.
You're
So-
making something that is
two different things.
inventing
but
something.
that's a way to look at it, but this is how I'm
Well,
saying.
this is
Okay,
semantics,
so
man.
everything-
I don't like
no,
arguing
no, no,
semantics.
no,
I don't like arguing
I don't want to
semantics. All right,
argue.
anyways.
That's your way of looking
Yeah,
at
That's
it.
your
No.
way of looking at it.
There's a
Okay?
definition and a fact.
No,
I mean,
no,
you
but
know
here's
what
what
I'm
I'm
saying?
saying. Look, if you look at it like this, everything in the universe is made out of atoms, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're gonna get down to atoms.
You gotta start.
You're saying that I'm putting all these atoms
Molecular
together?
level.
Wait. You gotta start from the bottom and build up. So I'm giving you one.
Let's start from the bottom. Now we're here.
Yes. Okay. So everything in the universe is made out of atoms.
Okay.
So everything that's made in the universe is made of those same atoms that were always
Okay.
here.
All
This
right.
phone is made
Cool.
of atoms since the beginning of time.
Awesome.
The only
Cool.
thing
I didn't invent atoms.
Okay. I know.
discovered them.
That's what he's trying to say.
Yes, we discovered the atoms that were already here.
Right.
The person that made this pen, they didn't make this pen so much as discover a way to put the atoms of this pen together in a way to form this pen.
You know,
Yeah,
we're still arguing semantics,
You
dude.
know what?
No. Because
All
look,
right.
okay.
I'm gonna
We
tune
can do
out,
this
man.
about everything.
I'm gonna tune out. I'm gonna tune out, man.
I want you to
Go ahead,
argue
man.
child support,
I know,
man.
yeah,
Because
you know
help
what?
me. Help me, man.
Here, this
Get
is
to the point.
This
Get
is
to
what
the
I'm saying.
support.
The reason why I'm saying this, it's a big point of contention in people that think like me. Whether things like this are a discovery in general or a specific thing, or if there's something that's made like by you. And the reason is, if it's made by, when people discover a country, a land or whatever, they don't own it per se. They have the rights of someone that got there
Don't
first.
tell that to the Spanish. Because
Okay, well, they were
Or
playing
the
under
English.
different rules.
Yeah.
Let's be
No,
clear.
I know,
They were playing
but-
under different rules. We're living in a different
don't
world.
tell
than them.
Elon because he's gonna go to Mars one day.
Yeah, but see, he gets discovery rights because he didn't make Mars, but he'll be the first one there. Now, if someone comes up to him later and be like, "Hey, we have this whole city you're built on top of, we own this," then there's gonna be some contention, but that's different rights. Now, if you make something, no one can ever claim it after you. Like, you
That's
get
what my
I'm
brother
saying?
was saying.
Yeah, if an idea is something that you make, then once you make it, it's yours forever, and nobody else can have any rights to it because
Well,
it's
you
yours.
can license
You
it.
made it. You can, but you get to
Well,
decide
well,
100%.
yeah.
on
No,
it.
where I was going with it was, should we not have government to protect your idea?
No,
your
but see, what
patent?
you're talking about is intellectual property, and that's what I was trying to say. Intellectual property is a point of contention.
again.
No,
It's
that's-
not a point of contention.
No.
Legally,
no.
that there's something
I'm
called
not talking
intellectual
about that.
property.
I'm talking about in people that think like me that are very freedom oriented. We're not
Freedom
sure.
oriented.
Look, the four
Yeah.
people in this world that think like you, really.
No,
you
it's
know,
not four. There are people that think much better about this stuff than me. I'm still learning from all of them. Plus, other people.
Don't.
But
listen to
people
them.
that are very freedom oriented,
You need Jesus.
it's unclear where if intellectual property is a real thing, like something you can own. This is my phone, or if it's something out there.
Have you ever watched the movie Demolition Man?
Yes.
So like,
But a long time ago.
if people like you took over, that's exactly what type of society we live. You know, where we have to wear like these things,
Where it's
have
all
sex,
mollycoddle? No. If
get
people
these shells.
like here, if people like me, generally, okay, like if you had the topic, what if I was president? But I'll kind of segue into that. If I
Oh
was
man,
president-
I want to make that my own
That
segment.
topic
is dead.
No, but-
We're past.
No,
they're
but
past
you're
that.
talking about the society I want. The society I want is where all the individuals are stronger for it. Like when you raise your children, you
That's
have to
society.
But not everybody's noble like you. I'm sorry.
not- I know. That's why we don't have
in your,
kids.
in your
That's-
mind, you think that
no.
everybody thinks
No,
like you.
I know.
There's some
no.
bad
All people
motherfuckers
have
out
to be
there.
is self-interested. For my society to
Yeah.
work, all they have to do is care about themselves. That's it.
Care about themselves.
That's it. That's all they have to do.
But that's
So
not a
far.
good
That's
thing.
not a good thing.
That's
No,
not a good
but,
thing.
but that's a natural thing,
Because
right?
in this
Wait,
world,
wait,
the
is-
current society,
what's the first thing
believe
you
it or
do?
not, there's a lot of people that think about others.
No,
That's
everyone
yes,
thinks about themselves.
No.
At the end of the day, because there's this
A
thing.
lot, the vast majority probably, but there's a lot of people that think about
No,
others and
there's no
animals.
one that-
And yes,
okay,
they do.
okay, I'll say everyone thinks about themselves first. So someone that thinks about animals, they think about the animal because it gives them some form of
Some
pleasure.
people are willing
some
to
form
Go to
of
Mexico.
pleasure.
Go to Mexico, and tell yourself, in my world, I want people to think about themselves, and I want you to go to Mexico,
No, not in my world.
and I
No,
want you to
wait,
go to the top
wait,
four
wait.
cities:
I think
Mexico
we might
City,
disagree there. We might
Monterey,
disagree there.
and I want
don't-
you to see
I
how
don't-
we
wait, wait.
live.
I don't want.
There's some
people-
good things.
Wait.
But the majority is
I
bad.
don't want people to think for themselves. Think
You
about
may not
themselves.
even make it back to the U.S. You might get
I want to be
killed.
clear here. It's not. I'm not making a moral judgment of if people should or shouldn't think about themselves. I'm stating a fact. People do, and the society I want works when people do what they do, which is think about
Yeah,
themselves.
but you can't tell me of a modern world or country right
Yes,
now.
any free
that does
society.
that.
Yes, America, most of Europe, any
No.
Western country.
No.
Yes,
No.
they're built on people thinking about themselves.
Oh,
but
yeah,
they
yes.
have slowly.
We have individualistic society.
Yes.
That's a fact.
yeah,
But
and
the-
it functions because it's natural for a person to consider
but,
themselves
but
first.
individualistic
It's
isn't
easy.
all a good thing.
I agree, but it's the best thing so far. Just like America.
I don't agree, man. Japan is very
Japan is very homicidal. They're probably about to go
Homicidal,
extinct.
They're
really?
very
homogenous.
progressive.
No,
They're
not homicidal.
Very progressive,
Here,
man.
they're suicidal,
Chinese
and
even
they'll
think-
probably.
Because of the kamikaze?
better
That was in
wait,
World War
wait,
II,
wait,
bro.
wait,
Hey,
no,
they
no,
don't-
no, no.
they've lived. They've
Japan has some of the highest suicide rates in the world, and
because they're so like cluttered. Like
So
they're
cluttered
like,
like
they,
this.
they don't have.
okay,
anything
but
else.
Japan's so great though. But on top of that, they're
I'm
all
saying
they'll-
their society is more
There will
familiar.
probably be no Japanese people in 100 years.
Okay, good.
I don't agree with that.
I do. The rates of the birth rates have gone through like the floor, and there are whole generations of men right now that just don't have any association with women.
Man. Like they don't have a lot of room. Do you realize that?
No,
right?
that's not a thing.
That's the
really.
reason. Yeah, it is.
No, it's not, because they used to say our world would implode
Look,
if we
in
had
Texas,
a billion
we're
people.
fat,
If we had
'cause we have
1
a
billion,
lot of
if the
land.
Earth had 1 billion people, we would all starve to death. That was a direct prophecy from the smartest people of the time. We have 8 billion people now.
I think it's like
and we're
7,
not
no?
all starving.
It's
to
7
death.
point something.
Yeah,
billion.
there are more people being fed today ever than in the history of the world, and 200,000 people every day are coming out of poverty. But if you listen to the smart people from before, if you use common sense, it made total sense.
But we've adjusted.
Yeah, we figured
Our
things out.
society has.
Yeah, the same thing with Japan. It might be a small place, but they'll figure out ways to fit more and more people in there.
So Thanos had it right.
No, see, Thanos is basically a climate change kind of person. He's basically saying that. He's basically saying the universe is made out of finite resources.
Mhm.
The planet is made out of
We
finite
need a
resources.
culling.
We need
We
to
need
kill.
to call,
We need to call it.
we call it.
So
It's a natural thing.
So why isn't Thanos the good guy?
I mean, technically, they made him look like a good guy.
Yeah, we
Why-
actually sympathize with them.
I know you can sympathize with a lot of people. I can, you can make
Not
anti-hero
Trump.
moves. I can sympathize with Trump too.
It's a hard job.
But the point is, clearly something morally about him is wrong. You feel for him for sure, and you see where he's coming from, but there's something off still, right? Somewhere in the back of your head, it's like this isn't quite right.
Look, I think Trump has a pretty brilliant mind.
I thought we weren't gonna
My
talk about
problem
Trump.
with him is that he doesn't listen to anybody. That's my problem.
What I like about him is that he doesn't listen to anyone.
No, no. Hold on.
You see two different opinions.
There's a different
There's
way.
pluses and minuses.
Like I don't think he should listen to like the tradition. I don't think he should listen to what the people
the
like
establishment.
the establishment. But I think he should listen to
I think he should select
his right hand man, like 3 or 4 people.
But he does.
No, he does
No, he
not.
does not.
He really
No, he
was.
does-
Yes, the people.
Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, he's leaking shit, man. He's saying things. John Kelly's about to quit.
This
Yeah,
might be
John-
true.
Do you
I'm not
understand
saying.
what
I'm
I'm
not saying his.
John Kelly's already in the out.
They're
not
already
saying
told it. They already said that John Kelly and him haven't been
He's
talking
already-
for a long time.
For weeks.
Well, yeah, because
maybe
there was that
months.
thing that happened with that intern that like raped that girl or did something
Something
with
like
girl.
that.
Yeah, so his reputation is kind
But,
of.
but what I'm trying to say is that Trump literally, if they tell him, do not go on Fox and Friends and tell
Don't
your
Twitter.
story. Do not Twitter. He does these things.
No, okay, but here's the thing. That's why he's so popular. He's defying conventional wisdom, just like when Steve
I
Jobs
don't
made
want
the
a popular
iPhone.
president.
Wait,
I want a president
no, I'm
that
not talking
acts
about
in a
popular
way
president.
that's
I'm-
going to
no,
help
listen
our
to what I'm saying.
country.
He's defying conventional wisdom, and we can agree that at times it's good to defy
Where the fuck is
conventional
Chuck
wisdom,
when I need him?
right? There are times when
Chuck
it's good
would be agreeing with him.
I know.
But there are times when it's okay to defy conventional wisdom. Elon Musk is like 5 examples of that. Steve Jobs was 1 example of that. Einstein was an example of that, right? There are times when you should defy the conventional wisdom and go a different way. And people aren't going to believe you because they haven't seen that way before.
But when you're in
Right?
in an executive position,
No, wait, but we can
where
agree that
you're
that's the
running
case.
a big ass
Sometimes you have to
country,
do something a little different.
You don't do that.
So
You're playing
don't-
chicken with the
You
United
don't.
States.
You don't innovate. What you're saying is, at the
No.
presidency, that there's so much power there. You
Here's
should
kinda
always do
here's
everything
really
normal.
where it's important to me
Alienate people.
is that he's causing division in this country. Whether you agree
Okay,
with
so
it or
in one of the
not.
arguments, he's really not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not causing division in this country.
Some people
The
are saying that they're
media-
all like getting together
No,
and
the-
trying to go against him.
No, the media is causing division in this country. Trump won't do what they want him
What's
to
the
do.
purpose of the media, in your opinion?
What do you mean?
What is the purpose?
What's the function of the
What is the function of
purpose
a media?
the purpose of a free press is to inform the citizenry.
Yes.
When I say the media, I'm talking about MSM, the mainstream media. This oligarchic super corporate structure.
President, regardless of whether he agrees with the media or not, does not attack the media.
CNN is owned by
and
who?
he attacks the media on a
CNN is owned by
daily.
who? AT&T. Wait, no. Well, y'all were talking about y'all don't trust corporations, right? There's something inherently wrong with corporations. CNN, AT&T, MSNBC, Comcast. They're all owned by corporations. And if all other corporations are evil or always trying to screw you over, then why wouldn't CNN and MSNBC and all Fox News, even them too, why aren't they all trying to screw you over just like all the other companies, just like y'all
They're
believe?
very biased.
Yes, they're all biased. But not only are they biased, they all have agendas. Everyone that works at CNN and MSNBC has deep ties to the Democratic Party. If they don't have deep ties, they will be fired
and
shortly.
that's why I don't listen to them. I listen
Exactly.
to NPR.
And that's
I listen.
even NPR.
No, NPR
yes,
is not.
NPR.
They're in the
no,
middle, man.
NPR,
They're
not.
so bipolar. Like
No.
one day I'm listening to them, they're
NPR
like attacking the fucking
NPR
GOP.
is funded by the federal government, but generally they're also left leaning.
No, they're not.
Yes, they have also.
Yeah, they
they're
are.
probably not as connected to the Democratic Party because they can't really.
But then,
do
as a
stuff for
consumer,
people.
I'm also smart enough to pick and choose, like to balance things out. Like I could listen to Fox and then CNN. That way, I can see what both fucking sides are saying
Yes,
and then make a
but
decision.
not most
on my own.
people don't have either the time or the inclination to do that because most people just like to believe what they already believe is true. They don't want to learn something new because growth is painful, and
Absolutely.
people have don't like pain, so they're just gonna avoid it. Unless you're people like me or like Lewis, some people like to learn and they get a pleasure out of it. So even though it's painful, they get a certain pleasure out of it. Most people don't get pleasure out of learning. Like there's some things like you'll put yourself in pain for, like your children, but there's a deep pleasure you get from protecting your child or something. But most people don't get pleasure out of reading or finding out how they're wrong or developing ideas.
Should
They just want
education be privatized now?
yes, because I don't want the government telling us what to think.
You know what? I kind of agree with that part, but not completely privatized.
There's degrees we can
But
talk
I
about.
think-
in
I
the
think-
in the
I
UK,
think-
Think about it. You only have to pay
State.
taxes or
in the UK, they
Uh,
offer $10,000 vouchers to each student per year as tuition. So they give them the money, and they can go anywhere they want in the country for school.
I think that the religion and the government should not be involved, but I think that there should be schooling that the parents or the students.
Yes, school should also be separate from government
right.
as well.
That should be not part of these things.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. Traditionally, private schools are the better schools. Historically, there's data that proves it.
Yeah.
You know, you have Trinity. What's it called?
I would also make a case
What's
for
the Trinity River? Yeah, they're like one of the best.
No, Valley or
No,
something?
Trinity Valley. That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. One of the best schools in Texas, from an academic standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, it puts people in colleges, but
Ivy League college.
Ivy League. So what I'm trying to say is that I do kind of agree that the state kind of shouldn't be so like they should.
I
tell
don't think
us,
they should be involved really at all because what's the point? Like I feel like parents should decide what their children
Well,
should
it's
learn.
because I do agree that every child should have access to books. I do agree that every kid has access to food.
Okay, what does that mean? Should
I do have
wait,
an
this is what-
invested thought in that
interest.
they should
Invested
have
interest.
school until 3
when I
p.m.
usually hear someone say something like, I feel like every child should have books, I think the sentence to myself, I think every girl should have a pony.
No,
No? Why not?
that's irrelevant.
No.
Like, that's not
Let
part
me tell
of
you what's similar
their
about that. Let me tell
education.
you. No, you're putting education, but it's almost the same thing. You feel like certain people should have certain things because you feel that way.
Okay,
Right?
well,
Okay,
put yourself in that
no,
situation. How
yeah.
would you afford the books when you were younger?
If I was gonna afford the book in the kind of
And I'm
society
talking about,
talking about,
like in Mexico, that the government,
No, I
the state
wouldn't
does
wanna
not
live in Mexico.
subsidize schools. That the kids have to pay
yeah,
for
but
their own
the
stuff.
problem is and that's good.
And guess what?
That's good for the
They
education industry.
drop out by
That's-
6th grade.
Okay, maybe they should.
80% of these schools. No,
Maybe they should.
What do you mean?
In wait.
That
In
doesn't
Mexico,
make
in
sense.
Mexico,
Don't you want a more informed,
Yeah, you want an educated-
more informed, educated population?
This is what I'm saying. It's general.
North Korea has a really good education.
North
And
Korea
they're-
does not.
Yes, they do.
It's state run. though.
Yes, it is.
Yes, I don't want that.
Now, I don't want that either. But do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you have
Yes.
to meet somewhere in the
No,
middle.
okay, but this is what I'm saying. If people want to educate their children, they will put the money in. People, I don't know why this is, but parents seem to love the shit out of their children to the degree that they'll put themselves through ungodly amounts of suffering for their children. So if
See, I
parents
don't
will,
want that. I don't want to no me quiero like yeah, no, I don't want to no me quiero acabar. Like, I don't want to work so hard.
yeah, you don't want to, but you will.
I will, but
yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah,
you
but
know
see
what I'm
that's human. You shouldn't want to have to put yourself out. But for your child, you do like retarded things, like to make sure that they get ahead in life, that they have the best. So if you have a private education system, the parent might not know everything to teach them. They'll teach them what they can at first, but then they'll hear it through the grapevine. Oh, this lady, she knows all the great English literature, or this person knows all about philosophy, or or maybe even like someone will create a school. They'll do it for their own
Here's
children,
the problem,
and they'll
though.
start buying it
Here's
in.
the problem.
And that's what we did in this country too. Everyone was homeschooled
But
at
then
first.
now you're depending on
And then you
somebody's
go.
bias.
Yeah, but the best
Wait, what do you mean? Yes,
resource.
you are.
Like if I had Jason come in here, I want Tony. I want you to teach him social studies and science, and history. He's going to learn about your biases, whether you want to or
Yes,
not.
he is. But
No matter how.
Okay,
Kill
but-
those damn Indians.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
but
Like,
if my-
he's going to be talking like you in 2 weeks.
okay, but if my biases are going to influence him to biases can be a bad thing. But let's say, let me say.
And it's no matter whether
Yes.
the state
Okay.
is involved or not.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But I know it's not. But see, that's the thing. You have a choice though. So if my biases are bad, like this is what's gonna happen. Someone's gonna have to take the hit. There's no version of this where someone doesn't have to take the hit. Right. So it might have to be Jason. Jason comes to me. I open my school and I'm offering free tuition for the first 5 years because I believe in my program that long.
But how are you going to survive?
I don't know, because whatever. We're talking about my business plan. Okay, I'm going to just take the hit. I'm going to work a second side job because, in a free market, the government's not going to pay me to open a school. Right. So I'm going to have to find some way to appeal to customers and bring them in. That means I might have to take a hit. I'm going to have to take a $10,000 loan.
I'm in growth mode.
Yeah. Lewis's might have to feed me sometimes. It's just going to be a lot of things. I might have to, the charity of others, because I really believe in this, and I'm going to have to find some way to do this, right? So I'm going to, for the first 5 years, because everyone else is out competing me, right? They already have a reputation. I'm going to give education for the first 5 years for free. Now, if you're someone poor that can't afford education, I'm going to look super tempting because I'm offering free education, right? So the poor people are going to have to sacrifice themselves in this situation. And we're there, and I might be the greatest teacher in the history of the world, and I just didn't have the money and the resources at first. So everyone that comes into my school, they're going to be some of the smartest kids. It also could be I'm one of the dumbest people in the world, and these people are going to have to take the hit, but when they get out there and they realize they don't know anything or whatever, they're going to be like, bro, don't go to that school. That reputation, don't go to him. His teaching style was X. Everything that I do is going to have a bad reputation as soon as they find out they don't have any employable skills, or they suck in the job market, or they don't value it at all. Because it also could be I provide them no skills, but it was one of the greatest experiences of their lives and they wouldn't trade it for anything. That could also be a thing, but you have to know what
my education.
Kind of like high school.
Yeah.
Kind of like fourth ISD.
Yeah. Like you could get something out of it, but at the end of the day, though, you have to figure out what you paid for.
But you're talking at this level overall.
But see,
the
you
United
can replicate
States'
that level
best
multiple.
resource is the people and the innovation that comes from it.
Yeah.
So you have a fucking dumbass society that doesn't go
No,
to
but
school,
doesn't
get education
Wait,
subsidized
but
by the
this is why
government.
culture matters.
That's
Wait,
when
wait,
that's
wait,
when
wait.
that's when the
Totally
declination
science.
Look.
of society goes down, man.
That's why culture matters. So we are formed on a Judeo-Christian culture. It was the Catholic Church that, for the most part, invented science. Within somewhere in that Christian culture, there's a sense to learn more, grow more, learn more about the universe so we can learn more about God. So there's a strong development of curiosity, right? So if you have this kind of culture, people will naturally want to, the church did it at first. A lot of the private schools, they're like Catholic schools and stuff like that. They educate the children first because they also have that incentive. They want people to read the Bible, to understand the word, to be better citizens too. That's a charity. The church is basically a charity. So you don't even need the free market there at first. But then as time goes on, you have like independent academies like they had in Greece where people would pay tuition to go
Not
there.
everybody has that.
No, but see, that's the thing. Not everyone had a Roadster, but everyone will probably have a Model 3. You have to work through these initial phases.
There's going to be so many kids left out of school if you take away school.
But people, all the kids are in school now, and they might as well be left out of school. But at least in my system, we're getting to better education for
but at
more
least
people
they
for
can
cheaper.
read.
No, they can't even do that.
Dude,
I know people that graduate that have 6th grade reading skills.
But they
high
can
school.
read.
High school.
I literally just said, at least they can read.
See? Okay, because
I gave him a book and I go, hey, read that to me.
And see, this is the bullcrap that I'm talking about too, because this is what usually the Democrats like to sell you. They're like, we have to make sure all the children are educated, but then the system they provide you, they're all in school, but none of them are educated. But you get the illusion of education because they're all going to school. It does, because in a free market system, people will be held accountable. If their children grow up and they don't get it, reputations will be damaged. People will lose their tuition money.
Reputations are damaged now. Look, listen. I think
No,
that change should be done in education.
Wait, real quick.
But
For the reputation
government
damage,
still has
like
to be
one of the schools
involved.
around here, Poly, horrible reputation. But do people have a choice to not go to Poly? Not really at all.
They
See,
live there.
That's not the market working. The market would say, I'm paying. Think of
They
a
can do
world where you're buying
homeschooling.
a phone and it has a terrible reputation, but you can't not buy the phone. That's what you're talking about. You need reputation and you need freedom. People don't have both of those. Schools have reputations for sure, but people don't have the freedom to be like, I'm not going to that fucking school.
It all sounds good on paper and
No,
what
it
you're
all sounds
saying,
good.
but guess
It
what?
also sounds good
It's not
historically.
practical.
It
It's not
is,
practical.
because all the
It's not. Give me an
smartest-
example.
Every person that founded
Give
this
me an
country
example
had a
right
private
now.
education.
Give me an example.
Every great scientist you
North
know had
Korea.
a
There's your
private-
example.
No, it's not. That's a state-run school.
Yeah.
It's not my example. That's your example.
They
It's
actually
close to
don't
yours.
really learn to read. They don't
Exactly.
learn anything.
Okay,
actually.
but listen to what I'm saying.
They learn how to pray.
All the founders of our country, well, almost all of them were privately educated. A few of them were self-taught. And there's also that option that people don't consider. There's also the fact how I was saying maybe in Mexico some kids shouldn't go to school. A lot of people go to school for shit that they never need to do. If you're really good at car mechanics and you're just making buku money just working on cars, maybe you don't need to know about philosophy and art history and stuff. Now, would it be good? Yes. But you have to make that decision for yourself, or your parents have to make it for you if you're underage, right?
But what if you don't have parents?
If you don't have parents, then
Your guardian.
yeah, whatever your
What
guardian.
if you don't have a guardian? There's a lot of kids that are homeless out there. Not
Like a
doing shit.
3-year-old.
Then the foster care system will make that decision.
Well, no, no,
Well, hold on, hold on, wait.
There's no government.
Wait, there's no government foster parents.
This society don't have no government.
No,
my bad.
This
No,
society,
I'm so sorry,
Tony's
Tony.
society doesn't have foster.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
my
It
bad.
doesn't have like.
no
What is?
education.
But what's
No
its own?
education.
So they're all gonna die, right? In my society.
I mean,
because there's nothing called a church or charity, right? We don't have.
What are they doing right now?
They're doing those stuff.
Go
but
down
no,
Lancaster and see how many kids.
no. You know why that is? Because historically in this country, before government got as big as it was now, the charities took a lion's share of doing the things the government does now. They were taking care of almost all of it.
So you're telling me that a society that's not
Government priced charities out of the market.
will have charities.
Yes. Well, a right society. That's why I remember. What did I say? Wait. What did I say? Culture.
If everybody,
That's
if
culture.
individual,
Culture.
And in Mexico,
everybody
and
an
in Mexico,
individual.
there
Yeah,
are
everybody
and
an
They have a
individual.
strong
There's a lot.
Catholic culture there
Yeah.
too.
Okay,
I'm
so
sure
the-
there's churches. There's
so
lots
in
of
your
charities.
society, where
Also,
everybody
but-
thinks
but
about
it's
number
bare
one
minimum,
is going to
though.
care about other people too.
In my society, it's going to be what humans are. And I know humans form churches. Humans believe in Jesus. Humans believe in Buddha. Humans believe in Allah, in Yahweh. They believe in a lot of shit. And most of those religions believe in charity.
Okay.
So I know that naturally people by themselves across time keep following these religions. I don't care if they're true or not, but I know people follow them and they tend to do charitable things. I also know historically in this country, before the government started doing everything, it was charities that did almost all the things that government is doing now. And as government grew, charity shrunk. And that also makes sense because as government grew, they started taxing us more and more, which means less money for people to have to do whatever they want,
Not charities.
including
They're
donating to
nonprofits.
charities.
No, they're nonprofits. Church and charities are nonprofits.
I know, but I'm
They don't get
no.
taxed.
Listen to what I'm saying. As the government grows, they have to tax the people more. Whoever's making the money.
Oh,
Those
okay.
people have less money to
To
do
donate
things
to charity.
like buy an iPhone or donate to charity. Whatever they want to do. Historically, charities were doing all the things, well, not all, but almost all the things the government is doing now. And it was a better society.
But
because we
apparently
were
it
free.
wasn't enough after the Great Depression.
You know why we had the Great Depression?
Oh, I know, government.
Yep, 100,000 billion%. I think it was Thomas Jefferson that never wanted us to have a national bank, and he wrote bunches of papers on exactly why, what would happen, and what did we do? We made a national bank, and everything he said came to true.
Hey, but
that's why people.
That's
are always
because
gonna
there
say,
was no regulations.
It was a government-owned bank.
Hold on,
matter.
hold on.
There were no regulations like you said.
From a government-owned
you realize
bank.
What-
historically that
what-
we had to have gone through this? Ain't that what you said? We have to go.
Not that
You're
far.
suggesting that we scale back, and there's going to be a time of attrition.
Yes,
for
people are
commercial
gonna.
business.
People are gonna suffer.
So we're going to suffer. There's
No,
gonna be
wait.
chaos,
No.
riots,
But what did
unemployment.
what did I say
There's gonna
earlier?
be a lot
What
of
is
shit
it?
before things get
What
good.
is it that produces good men?
So that's
wait,
the same
What
thing
is it that produces good men?
That time period
What-
did
Oh,
for us.
what?
Bad times produce good men. So when we go through this period,
We fix
people,
things.
when you're in the struggle, you rise to the challenge. Not everybody. People,
Most everybody, yeah.
I don't even know if most. And if you don't rise to the challenge, we have charity, and those will be the people that rise to the challenge, or people that will step up their game in multiple ways. Maybe they've created a better business. Maybe they were always going to do something great, but they were a little comfortable. Maybe, they see their friends struggling for real, and now they're actually starting to help people, and they feel like, oh my God, I never knew volunteering was this fulfilling. I need to really start getting out here. I have all this stuff.
Man, you have a lot of faith.
No,
in
I don't,
humanity.
because there's also going to be a lot of people that are going to be like hoarding shit.
He also doesn't believe that taxpayers should pay for libraries. Just want to throw that out there.
But we have charities.
Charities for what?
I would donate, if I had extra money, I would donate for a library.
If.
Yes.
Big if, huh?
Yeah. But I'm living like less than paycheck
That's
to
not
paycheck.
the
at this
culture we
point.
live in.
It is no, it's not the culture we live. But see, that's why you have to start with the culture. You have to start instilling these values of freedom.
How
of
if you don't have
individual
education?
responsibility and charity. Okay, yeah, because how was it that Jason learned to speak? It was a state-sponsored program by no, it was Carlo. It was Leanne talking to him, right? I mean,
well, he
or
didn't
no,
know-
wait.
he didn't know
How do you get your message across if you don't have an education?
What's the message? My message particularly?
Yeah,
like
your
what I'm saying?
message. Your message across
First,
everybody.
I'll have a conversation with you. You'll have a conversation with me. We'll figure out what the best idea is.
mass message. Like
No,
what's
no,
your message
see,
to your country, the one that you're trying to create.
That's that authoritarian instinct that I freaking hate. Fuck that. Fuck that.
What?
Because that tendency to want to, I know what's right for everybody, and I'm just gonna make them do it. I hate that.
No,
so
but
goddamn
But you
Hold
have
on.
to coordinate
Hold on.
everything
No.
that you
No,
want.
no. Hold on. Calm down.
You have to coordinate your
What if
individualistic
what you're saying is
people.
such great.
If it's such
you have
great,
a
then
big following.
Then those people will follow me, and the
And
people
you
that
have
don't
over
won't.
200, 300,000 followers that physically come and see you.
Yeah. Then we'll make speeches. I'll print books if it's that important. I'll start training disciples. What did Jesus do? What did Jesus
But
do?
do you see how that's important to protect like your?
Yeah, but
your
Jesus
intellectual
didn't have a government infrastructure, and Christians are 1 billion people today.
Yeah, but you know
Plus,
what I mean? Like is he here? Is
no.
he on this earth?
Yeah, and
No.
did it take time? Yes.
Of course.
Yes, and just like Jesus is an extreme
look,
example,
man.
I don't want to compare myself to him at
Look,
all. But Buddha,
nah.
there was him. There was John Adams. There was
Look,
John Maynard Keynes.
Nonprofits are almost the same
terrible
as a
ideas.
government if
Huh?
you think about it.
No,
Nonprofits are almost
but
like a
here's
government.
the difference. I can choose to not
A
fund
nonprofit organization, the government is supposed to be a nonprofit
It's
organization.
supposed to be, but it's not.
It is.
And I can't choose not to pay my taxes. I can choose to not give to Salvation Army when they're paying
Look,
their
man,
CEO
the only thing that
millions
you're
of dollars.
guaranteed in life is death and taxes, man.
We weren't guaranteed taxes when we started this country.
Yeah, actually we did.
Death.
No,
Actually, we did. Yeah,
We
to
had
get
the-
death and taxes.
Yeah, we had
yes.
the most basic of taxes, and they were all excise taxes. Is that excise? Which one is the one that's
Tariff.
Yeah,
imports.
Yeah, only on imports.
Tariffs,
And they didn't even want to do that.
taxes.
It's just the only consistent way they could with the technology they had at the time. I don't think if we have an income tax, the fairest thing that makes sense to me is just a flat tax. Everyone pays the same thing because then we can get
I
rid
can
of
agree with that.
Yeah, we could get rid of the IRS
should
and stop paying
simplify
all
it.
the people in the IRS. But see, then you can't agree with that because what about the jobs though? That's why you can't focus on things like jobs.
What jobs?
You retrain
All
them.
the people in the IRS.
Yeah, you retrain them and you give them another government job.
Get rid of those guys.
No, but see, I want a smaller government, which means less people working there. And over time, I want less and less people all the time. I want more things to be run by computers. If it needs to be done by government at all, I want it to be very computer based or very less people based. And I want them to know we're trying to get you the hell out of here as soon as possible because you're taking taxpayer money that could be used to pay for children's education, that could be paid for medicine, that so many
But
other
look what
things.
happened in the state of Texas Medicaid in 2008 or 7. I forgot what year it was.
Around the recession.
So the Medicaid program, everything was computerized. They only had, I don't know, maybe 1,000 or less employees. So I'm a dentist. My patient, I chart them. The chart is based on my evaluation. There's a lot of room for me,
Fudging.
Fudging the numbers a little bit, right?
So you get paid
And I
more.
submit it. This paperwork goes to a computer. It gets scanned by a machine. It gets analyzed and it gets approved by a machine because it's all by numbers.
Okay, so what you're saying, there's lots of room for error.
Right.
Yeah.
So
corruption.
in 2010,
happened.
right, the state legislature
Had to make
caught
a law.
on to that,
Yeah.
and they made a big change. They privatized Medicaid. So
Yeah.
now they've got the top 3 companies: Delta Dental. I don't even remember the other 2, but there were 3 big companies, big corporations, that are now into making money, which means that the fee schedules for patients that are under Medicaid or whatever, or even PPO, but mainly Medicaid, they went down. So dentists, they weren't making as much money as they did before because
Right.
these fee schedules were limited. And then there were these regulations where if I did a root canal or if I did like a filling for this patient and a year later his filling came out, he had to come back to me and I had to redo that filling
For free.
at no cost.
Yeah.
So
This
this is a true story. Leading up to all this, it was just free. It was free range. It was like
It's not, Medicaid in itself is not free.
limited state,
No, but see,
regulation.
Medicaid, I
And
would
then-
go limited
and then
beyond
millions
no
of dollars
Medicaid.
to the state taxpayers went to this.
Then they privatized and then they started declining shit. And people,
No, because
and
but
now
what-
the states
they
actually
privatize-
they're not losing money now.
Yeah,
It took about 5 or 6 years.
and that stuff can help. But I would even want to live in a world without Medicaid, so that Medicaid money can go back to the people whoever paid those taxes, so those people can directly or indirectly give money and let themselves
but
compete. it out.
Medicaid goes to people who can't afford to
Yes,
pay it.
but
This
that's
is for
that's
lower
what
income.
charity is. That's what charity is for. It's for people that can't help themselves, right?
Because the St. Jude Children's Hospital
No,
doesn't
it's
exist.
not necessarily true. Medicaid people that
Like
are approved for
disabled.
Medicaid, they have different disabilities. They were born with
handicap
issues.
or whatever. Yeah,
and actually there were people that are working,
right.
but they just don't make enough money.
But see, okay, what I like
you
about
understand
private
what I'm
charity,
saying?
yeah, what I like about private charity is like, okay, so for example, one time Luis bought me a meal, right? That was like a private charitable transaction.
He
for the
wrote
most
that off, by the way.
I don't know if he did, but when he does, I feel guilty now, right?
Yeah.
Because Luis, my friend, did something for me, and now I owe him.
He told us the other day. He's like, "Man,
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
wait till he pays me
But
back."
even if he doesn't, but because I care about Luis, I'm gonna want to.
Not everybody thinks like you, man.
No, but everyone feels guilty when they take something from people they love.
Not
Well, no,
really.
not everybody.
Not
but
really.
Most people.
Yeah.
Most people feel guilty when they
Maybe
borrow from
60%.
people they don't.
Right.
Well, then they know at least if there's any personal connection at all.
Right.
And most people don't do charity for people they don't know. Right? So if you're getting charity with any kind of personal connection, if you're seeing a human face, if a homeless man gave me $1, I would feel obligated to give him at least $1 back if I was really struggling. Like, let's say I'm trying to catch a bus and like, oh, I don't have money. He's like, hey, and I see him just like, he's clearly homeless, right? And he gives me $1. Like, you know how bad that's gonna make me feel? Like, if I can't pay him back, I'm gonna have to pay it back to
But
the
not
universe.
everybody's like us, man.
No, but see, you know what? Remember
You're
how you said
very
your
honorable.
parents made you good?
Yeah.
That's the Judeo-Christian ethic. That's why I said culture is important. It's in there. It's in a few other religions.
I
know
honestly
for that.
think that there's less religious people here than there are not religious.
There are now, and that's a problem a little bit because
Wow.
atheist.
Well, I just told you the culture's not there.
I know,
told
but
you.
see, we can make the culture there.
Wow.
But from your children, you have to instill the kind of values that you want your
I
children
can do
to
it at
have.
my level.
Yeah,
but
and then your
not
children
every.
will- you can do it
but
at your
not
level.
everybody's
You
gonna
can
do
talk
it.
to Carlo. You can talk to me.
Yeah,
you can
but-
talk to your other friends.
But not. We can't get to the massive scale that we need.
No, but see, that's the thing. You can, but over time. That's why I said it's going to be painful in the interim. You can't talk to everybody, but maybe you shouldn't because maybe your idea isn't the
There's
best
just
idea.
too many. There's too many sevens of billions of people that
I know,
don't
but
think
you
that
have
way.
to start somewhere. Okay?
Okay.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. If you don't take the single step, you don't. What you want to do is you feel like your idea is good only by thinking about it, and then you want to go the whole 1,000
I think
miles.
by the time we get there, the sun will have burnt out.
No.
Yes.
We'll be actually fairly good probably in the next 100 years if we don't kill ourselves.
No.
Yes.
Were your suggestion
We're
is
thousands
it's a
of years
huge
apart.
reform? Social
It's not,
reform?
but see, I don't want to do that. I hate this government bullshit where it's like we have to do a huge reform. We need to get 1 million people
But
all
that's what
together
you're
on the same.
suggesting.
But you're
No, no, no,
suggesting that we
no.
got to start
I
one
want to
way.
do it the way
You
that
can't-
nature has proven that it works. The way Jesus did it, the way Buddha did it, the way that every great thinker, Socrates, I can't think of all the people, Plato, Aristotle, all the people, they propose their idea.
Look, the
they
only
talk
way
to
this is
a few
going to
people,
work is
and
if
it
you
branches
create a
through.
town with your idea.
And it works.
No,
and
but
it
see,
works.
but in a free,
and then
as an
little
example.
people will start
but
coming
see, that's
in,
what
and then
America
everybody
did.
understands.
That's what America did. That's literally what they did, and that's why they wanted the
Yeah,
laboratories.
but we're
and
not
democracy
even
so they can do
close
that
to
even
that
more.
anymore.
I know, but that's why we have to fight back.
How would you fight back?
You have to fight for smaller government. You have to be willing to take a little bit.
So-
You have to be like Carlo, who paid thousands of dollars in taxes to prop up Verizon, and AT&T, and all these bullshit companies, and be like, you know what? I'm gonna take this hit because I want my children and my grandchildren to live in a freer country than I am. So I'm gonna be like, you know what? I pay that money, but it's gone. But now we're gonna live in a freer country.
Dude,
I'm not.
I
you know,
agree
these
with
five
you.
years.
You're painting a beautiful picture.
But it
But-
does take moral courage, and that's the problem. Right now, the more corrupt a society is, the more morally courageous people have
And
to
the
be
way
to fight
that I would
against
put it
it.
is that Martin Luther King Jr. couldn't get that.
Get what he did.
No, he did not.
No,
No,
did not.
he
No,
got
he
it,
did
and
not.
then we went a
You know, I
U-turn.
used to think that. You know, I used to think.
No,
like,
I used to-
fifth,
no, wait,
sixth,
wait,
seventh
no,
grade,
wait.
Wow, you know, we live. We, you know, we're segregated. You know, we're not segregated anymore. How, you know, I have a bunch of like. I never saw color. Like
Yeah.
I never saw color. Maybe until like high school. Maybe after high school.
I remember when
I was
saw
very
color.
naive. I was very naive to it. Like you know, any friend. Any
No, but
friends
see,
that I had,
being
to me didn't have color.
He never said anything
But-
about being colorblind.
But here's the thing. No,
You
but
should be able to
no,
see color.
Look,
No.
listen to me. Here's what I'm trying to
You
say.
couldn't see
is
the
that-
differences. We were all the same.
Right. We were the same to me. Like there was like, but then like I started living these experiences right after like during high school and right after high school. I started seeing these experiences, you know, that I never thought that I would. And I think that I live in a situation where there's really not that many situations that I can live. But if you go and
Can
you
you
travel
say- what
out
do you
far,
mean?
like I went to Georgia, you know, I had those racism over there. You know, I saw that with my very own eyes.
Oklahoma. There's a lot of
Going
racism
to
there.
Bowie, you know, going towards Bowie, Texas, I had a very, very strong, you know, experience. You know,
Well, if I can push back on that just a little
but
bit, real
not-
quick.
but not
Wait,
yet,
I don't know the
because
specifics
because
of your
the point that I'm
experience.
trying to make here
Well, no,
is
but see,
this.
here's the thing: you might not have even experienced what you thought you experienced. Because
No,
one of
I
my friends,
experienced
one of my friends was telling me about how he was driving around in a Lincoln Town car, which is not the most, let's say, friendliest looking car. It has a bad
Man,
reputation.
Louis had a big old pound of weed in the trunk. You didn't even
Okay.
know.
Okay, but let's pretend it was Louis and he didn't have it. But one time he was driving in the middle of the
I know,
night
he was-
through Rosedale and a police officer pulled him over.
He had that Lincoln
Now,
Town car.
if you were the person that had the idea that things could be racist in your head, you might think that that's racism. Because obviously, Louis wasn't doing anything in this
What
situation.
they pull him over for?
They pulled me over for stopping when I actually stopped.
So it could have either been the officer
For not stopping, yeah, for like a rolling stop, but I was like, no, I
But
did a
he
full
did
stop.
stop.
I did a full
Okay,
stop.
but and there could be a few scenarios here. First, racism, obviously. Other options. The officer missaw. It was the middle of the night. He wasn't paying attention. He thought he saw something he didn't. He's human. Police officers make mistakes. Third option. They had an APB out for a Mexican about this high, about this skin color, wearing glasses in a town car. Now, Louis wouldn't know about that APB at all, right?
You're creating a lot of scenarios here.
Yeah, but it doesn't even have to be that. It could just be a Mexican in a town car. That's not that rare of a thing. And
Alright.
Mexican town cars
What
commit
was the
crimes,
outcome?
right?
Did he give you a ticket?
No, he let me out with a warning.
No, but he was convinced, at least up until talking to me, he might still be convinced,
That it was
a
racist
Yeah,
thing.
driving while brown. It was what they pulled him over. But I've seen enough scenarios, not personally, but looking at stats and people's stories and stuff, that when white people get pulled over randomly for doing nothing, they don't have the option to think it's racism. So no white person has ever claimed, I got pulled over for driving by white. But white people do randomly, just like Louis, get pulled over all the time. And they don't know why. They didn't do anything. The officer's not giving them good stuff, and they let them go. And then, but if you're white, you can't just jump to, oh, racism. You're like, this was weird, and then you move on. But if you're brown, you're black, you're yellow. If you're
I
any
was
other
Louis,
country,
or myself, or anybody, or myself, I'm gonna tell you something. I feel safe that there's cops out there. They may have pulled them over for no reason, and I'm glad that they did that, because you know what, Louis is not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. You know what? I don't worry about anybody else except for me. I don't care about, in this country, there's been 5 black guys that just got killed last week. I don't care. I care about what I could control, which is me. Because if I sit here and I start thinking, man, there's so much racism in this country. There's so much racism in this town. Man, he's pulling me over for no reason. You know what?
I'm gonna be all mad.
You know what? I'm going to get mad. I'm going to get emotional. And then the interaction with that cop is going to be a bad experience. But if I pull over and he asks me for my license and I give him my insurance and I ask him, hey, sir, why did you pull me over by chance? Well, you know, you didn't fully make a stop. Well, I'm pretty sure I did, but, you know, if you feel that way, I'm sorry. I'll make sure and pay attention.
I need you to step out of the car.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and give you a warning. Go ahead and take off. Now, if I start thinking about, man, last week they killed 5 black guys. Man, they're so racist in here. Man, I ain't gonna pull my window down. Man, I want to see my lawyer. I want to see your supervisor. And then boom, I get shot. Right? Do you see? And this is one thing I try to teach Jason, is that I think that these interactions that we have, especially as minorities, we have that burden for some reason, like you said, and that goes back to my point. You know, at a younger age, I saw these things. I saw racism. I saw things, and whether or not I want to interpret it as racism or not, I had that feeling, and you know what, a lot of people do. So, what I try to teach Jason is this: like, you can only control what you can do.
and see, that's a great thing.
And regardless of what you feel or what you think, comply, do what you're supposed to do. If you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about.
I mean,
Do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, I get what you're
Now,
saying.
now, in the context of, let's be fair, of course, man, like, is this city pulling people, like, a lot of minorities over? I get that. Let's look at data. Let's look at stats. Let's come together as a community. Let's fight these things.
But see,
Great.
the problem is it's
There's a way
even
of
hard to
doing
even
it,
do that
but-
because all we can ever think about is racism. There's a lot of hard facts. Okay, I'm going to state these things as facts because I know them to be facts, but I also know I could be wrong. So try to put that together. Here's some facts that are people that don't like to hear. Men tend to be smarter than women. They don't like to hear that, and that causes a lot of
That's a very
problems.
sexist thing
It
for you
is
to say.
sexist. But men also
I
tend to
think
be
my wife is very smart.
yeah, but
and-
men also tend to be stupider than women.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, men are more extreme. They tend to be your geniuses and your retards.
We make logical decisions. Women make emotional
No,
decisions.
but it's not even one person. I'm talking about the category of men. If you plot out all the men and their intelligence, they're either
bell curve.
Yeah,
but you
bell
can,
curve.
but you can actually make an argument that men over time have, demean women or cut women
no,
down.
I'm not saying that has
glass
nothing.
ceiling type
Yes,
of thing where
you
we
can.
can't
Right.
really see
You can.
how
But-
intelligent somebody really was.
when we
Yeah, no,
there
I'm
might have
not-
been an Einstein woman somewhere out there.
There could have been.
She was
But no,
like
but
in
they-
the closet.
repressed and
Okay,
stuff
but
like
based on what we know about evolution, things don't change that fast. Based on what we know about what we can see about people now, this is the curve. The curve is men are a super big. I sucked that up automatically. Men are a super big fat curve, and women are like a tall skinny curve. So they tend to be
They're
much
not
more
quick.
close to the average. So they're not retarded like men are, but they're also they tend not to be. The word is tend. So there could always be a woman. There's always mutations. You could have that super genius Einstein woman. I'm not saying they can't exist, but what I'm saying is if you're looking on averages for a whole category, millions, billions of people, right? Women tend to cluster towards the middle of like smartness, so the middle of IQ as a measure of. But men, they tend to be like your
Super
crazy homeless
retarded
people on the streets
or
or
really
geniuses. I mean, obviously there's middle, but
Right.
if there's gonna for every 100 geniuses, for 100 geniuses, 99.
So you're saying the woman's average is higher than the men's?
No, the average is actually the same. On average, it's just men tend to be more extreme on the edges.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it averages all to be the same. But because the averages are the same, people like to make this weird argument: men and women are same. So if all of the CEOs are men, then it must be sexism because sexism. But then when you point something like this out, even though they're statistical facts, that's also sexism.
Yeah, but you just said it's average.
No,
It's
look what
average
I'm
is
saying.
average.
The average is the same, but on the edge. If you need to be
So then your statement of saying,
Oh, the extreme.
yeah,
Come on,
because to be a CEO, you're gonna need to be pretty freaking
No, what
smart.
I'm saying,
and there's
you're-
gonna be 99 men for every one woman on the edges,
Right.
on both sides.
Right.
So, like most homeless people are men. Nobody gives a crap. In Australia, they're suddenly starting to give a crap about homelessness because a bunch of women are now homeless. It's like 40% of the population. But usually, it's like 80 or 90% of homeless people are men.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
You know, or they give a shit in a general sense, like when it's like politically convenient.
Yeah.
But they really care when it's women. Like all these homeless women, we need to do something, and that's natural.
Or
We all
homeless
have
children.
like a bias for children and women and stuff. But there's a lot of intricate things. Like that's also sexism. That's unequal. Why do we care about children more than adults?
Like women and
That's not
children
equal.
first. I'm like, this is sexism. I
Yes,
don't
but see,
understand.
nobody cares. But see, nobody
Sexism.
cares about sexism when it benefits them. They're only talking about the negative thing.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the full picture. Same thing with racism. That's
Is it true?
Where the hell
IQ.
did you get this information from? Because I don't think
you have
that's
to look
true.
at IQ set, and I shouldn't even say stupid because the words that I'm using.
I'd rather
that's
be
a-
with one of
I'll-
them when there's
I'll
a
put it
lion
like this.
chasing
I'll
me.
put it like this: white
Like
people,
below intelligence or
yeah,
something.
below
like
intelligence. But like some of the smartest people on average tend to be Ashkenazi Jews, East Asians, and then white people. So and generally,
I would say Asians.
East Asians. Actually, I used to
Like-
think
like
Indians,
Indians and
like
stuff?
we're smart. They're not. In America, they seem smart because only the smart ones get here. That's where that impression comes.
that. Oh.
Yeah, because you
They're
have
the
to.
extreme.
Yeah,
Right.
only the smart ones are making it through the filtration
Yeah, they
system
got
to
here.
get to America. So only the smart ones are really. Obviously, you have your quickie mart people
Yeah.
and stuff too.
Quick your mark.
Yeah, but
Oh,
even
no,
it,
no,
it
no,
takes
no,
a
no.
certain amount of intelligence
Yeah.
and risk appetite to open a business in a strange foreign country all by yourself.
What about
But-
Chinese, man?
Yeah, that's East Asians.
Asians.
Yeah. They're only second to Ashkenazi Jews. Like that's why almost all the Nobel Prize winners, unless you believe there's like a Jewish conspiracy, and actually some people do, I do not subscribe to that. At least yet, I haven't. I'm always open to information, but that's not where I'm leaning with the facts that I have. But anyways, almost all of them are like Jews. Okay, and the big problem that people want to say with IQ, as far as I understand it, it's racist. But how can it be racist when it was because they say it's racist because it was developed by white people? But why would white people make a system that's supposed to be biased and have every other, well, not every other, race, but two races above it?
biased.
Biased, because the thing that people like to say IQ tests are racially biased because, well, a reason, which is just whatever, or because white people made it. Obviously, their incentive is to prioritize white people because white supremacy or something. But then it doesn't make sense for Ashkenazi Jews. Jews have historically been persecuted by white people and all people, and then East Asians. Why are there two groups above them in intelligence? So it doesn't stand up to my basic reasoning, and as far as I know, these are facts. Now, there's also a cultural component here, because that's just the IQ by itself. My understanding is there's this writer, his name is Thomas Sowell. He's an economist. I'll point out that he's black just because people seem to care. Like when something comes from
I wish you would have told me that.
well, it's a minority. People seem to think minorities have more standing because of their personal experiences, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like if you're a white person, you say something, you automatically lose like 100 points because fuck white people. Okay? But so it's like, I don't know why.
It's like you're biased towards, or you're racist.
No, in this country is racist against white people. I had a conversation with a friend about some of this stuff that was African American, and at first he just assumed all the people I was listening to was white, and a good amount of them are. Well, actually, a lot of them are Jews, which kind of goes with the Nobel Prize thing, but. A good amount of them are Jews, but a good amount of them are also like Asians and black people. And when I said black people, I could see his body untense a little, like fuck. Like now all of a sudden I have to take this seriously. But why does he have to suddenly take the information seriously when it's from a black person? Because that sounds like he's judging someone not by the content of their character, but by the color of their skin.
Right.
See, so there's this subtle form of, I don't want to call it reverse racism. It's just racism, but it's coming from this weird other
social
angle.
conditioning that we all have.
Yeah, but see, these
You
are
know
the
what I
real
mean?
things we have to talk about because the other component, like I was saying, was culture. And in black culture, like if you think about the brain as hardware and culture as software, for some reason, the culture that most black people get in America will retard the brain for the most part. Like it makes the brain stupider because there's this thing called redneck culture. You can think of it especially with like white people, like hillbillies, the banjo, and they're like just that's the hillbilly culture of white people. It retards the brain. It makes you stupider, right? It's about like 20 to 30% of white people.
Yeah.
But in the African American community, it's about 90% of black people. And so if we wanted to talk about culture, but we can't because, it's not correct. All cultures are equal. There's no differences. Everything's amazing, blah, 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 this bullshit. So if we can't talk about it, but if we did want to talk about it, these are two things that might be holding back our conversation of understanding the situation. And I understand why, because everybody's like PC, like all cultures need to be equal. If I say Mexican culture isn't as good as American culture, then all of a sudden it's like I'm a racist against Mexico. But it's not. I'm just saying this is my understanding, and I'm trying to look at it objectively. Because if it is Mexican culture is bad on this specific dimension of freedom or providing opportunity to people, then wouldn't it be good that we know what's holding back Mexican culture so they can adopt it from American culture? And vice versa, if Mexico's doing something good in their
So we
culture.
could just have one world culture.
No, I don't like that either. I like a good amount of diversity. I like diversity because we never are going to know what the perfect thing is. I don't believe...
Groupthink sucks.
Yeah, I want a good amount of diversity. I want people fighting it out.
Groupthink is good.
No, I want 50 different
it
super
hard.
cultures all fighting it out, showing us what the best one is. Like
Friction is
I
always
like
gonna
the
be-
friction, the competition. That's why I like the free market and
No.
full liberty.
No, that friction causes wars.
It sometimes does, but that's why we have to innovate on ways to deal with conflict. And freedom of speech is important in that.
The
Because
government can prevent that from happening.
no, governments are usually doing most
How
of the
about
wars.
this? How about we have one dictator,
No.
right?
World
dictator,
dictator.
who tells everybody exactly how to
Yeah,
think.
we were going to
how
have
to
that in
think.
2016. Her name was Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Damn.
Listen.
You know what? I didn't like Hillary Clinton as a candidate, but
let's not go
she
there,
would have
man,
been a
please.
way
Let's
better
not-
president.
Let's not go
Tony,
there.
Tony, I'm cutting you off. You're done from talking. All right.
Yeah, take some Adderall,
All right.
man.
No, Juan.
Oh, just real quick.
That was just
though,
laser
real quick,
focusing.
I'm going to tell you this just because I think
That's
it's
the
important.
government. I know.
No,
It's
not even
government.
that. But ADHD, it might not be a real thing.
That is
know,
not a real
I
thing.
know, I
It's
agree
just
with
being
that.
boy. It's just being a boy.
I agree
And
with
see,
that.
the school system is designed for girls.
Oh,
Yeah.
So Jason is probably struggling a good amount because they're trying to teach him like he's a girl,
I've already
but he's a
told
boy.
Carlo that shit is
Oh, I
bullshit.
read a lot
Maybe,
of different
maybe,
things.
maybe.
No,
You have to always
there's
look
some
at-
people that
No.
scientists.
I know.
that are literally
I know,
coming
but
out
you
and
have,
saying that
I
doesn't
always
even
like to
exist.
leave the facts open because you can be wrong. I
Right,
believe
right.
firmly everything I believe will be wrong within 100 years.
But take Adderall.
Okay, and
But Adderall will help you slow down a little bit.
So Juan, I just wanted to ask
I'm
you.
usually
like,
actually slow. It's just when I'm more in these passionate subjects. Like I
I told you I cut you off. I'm gonna cut your mic. I'm gonna like literally pull your mic out. All right.
Like your Forrest Gump.
All right. So like I was looking at your expression on your face, and it was very like you were amused.
well, it is because it's amusing rambling. You ramble a lot, man, and you go in 100 different directions.
He's
and
going 100 miles an hour. Yeah.
And it's cool. It's cool to hear different opinions.
Yeah.
You like to present things with like facts. I'm pretty sure he'll Google that shit and shoot you.
I already have a lot of mental notes.
I want you in the comment section, Tony.
But here's the thing, though. You
I'm gonna have to comment on myself. Be like,
Yeah,
this is everything that I said wrong. This,
You know.
1650, this was stupid.
It's cool. It's nice to hear different views.
Okay.
And I'll tell this to everybody. And it's kind of a funny thing. When I grew up, my coach used to say something to me, and I'm gonna add something to it. He used to say, "Excuses are like assholes."
Everyone's
right?
got one.
Everyone's got one else thing. Now, I'm going to throw opinions in there. Opinions and excuses are like assholes. Everyone's got one, and they all stink, and they all like smelling their own shit. Right? They love it. My opinion matters and everything. And that's the culture we're going
That's
to.
why I don't like dictators, because they're the ones that think their shit doesn't stink and everybody else will accept it.
Exactly. So, we can go in 100 different directions. It's just that when we present an idea or we focus, I don't like arguing semantics. That's one thing. That is. Oh, hold on. We can do. We can go on the next one.
I'm wrapping it up. I'm wrapping it up. In case you didn't know.
Semantics. Don't argue about semantics. Don't argue about politics because they're all opinions. Everything's an opinion. Don't argue. Like religion and all that good stuff. It's good to just throw the ideas out there. But when you're saying, "Oh no, we do this," and then you start piling, it's just like the conversation goes in the different directions, and that's my take on this. So the amusement for me is like, man, he's got like so many ideas, and you probably threw 100 different ideas out there that can be its own segment in like one, one whole topic.
Yeah.
Or when you were talking, I was like, damn, that's true, and that's why. Every once in a while, they're like, well, something like, oh, well, what about medical? Oh, what about education? Or what about national security? Because, I'm trying to tie it all together, because you're talking about different things, But
Well, that's why I usually
I'll
like
like
to
it.
stay on the philosophy level because I feel from the way I think about it, the philosophy is at the root. So
Right,
I can
of
say like
course.
5 things here in this small section because everything else has to intersect with reality and start branching off. a little
well,
bit.
of course,
All right.
of course. All right. Well,
So-
that's kind of my thing, and yeah,
But I do like that stuff too. It's just harder.
my facial expression was amusement. I was like, okay, cool. You know, some of it was like, damn, man. You know, like, is he gonna stop? Is he gonna let me talk, or he's getting my brother?
Sorry, I did tell
talking
you I
over
tried to
you.
do that. I tried,
Yeah,
but
that's
it
cool.
didn't
No
work
worries.
out.
What? Anything else?
No, I just wanted to get your your amusement amused me. Actually, I tell you the
I
truth.
was just, you know,
Like that's because
And don't get me wrong.
Carlo was very stern. Like the
yeah.
whole time.
I would like while you were talking, I would be like, hey. And I'm like, no, he already went to something else. Like,
Yeah.
fuck. Okay, all right.
Well, I,
Yeah.
I looked over at you two. You were looking at like you know
know.
at both of us. you
Yeah,
know.
I was studying. Okay, I just want to throw this out there. This might be the only Musing with. This is like the Musing with Menchaca episode.
It has like 10
No,
parts.
No,
Where
no,
you were
no,
amused.
No, oh, that too. I was gonna say, like personally, this might be the Musing with Menchaca episode where I speak the least.
You're right. You didn't
I just want to throw that out there.
That's a good thing. That's
I was
why
the host. I'm the host and the moderator.
He made up for like 40 episodes.
I'm the host and moderator, but
But you
I
know,
just wanna-
I
No,
want to
it's
say
good.
something. I want to
It's
say
good.
something.
all right, yeah, I was about to go 32.
You know, these conversations. You know, I always learn something a little bit about the people that I'm with, but I also learn about myself because
it challenges your convictions.
not only that, but it makes you think. And you know what? There's some things that I agree with. There's some things that I don't agree with. But at the end of the day, I start to question it myself. You know.
That's exactly what happened with me. I questioned my own.
Yeah, and that's a good
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's what our society needs in general. You know, there's a lot of hot topics, and we've talked about some of those in the last episode. But we have to learn to come together and have these cool discussions without making it personal.
Yeah.
Or without
I
getting
love
mad
it.
at each other. Tony,
I'm like,
that's
goddamn,
awesome,
man.
man.
would say-
I
know
love
I'm not
that.
supposed to talk, but the reason why it is so hard is like people really find their identity in some of these ideas. Like I'm a Republican, so I believe this,
Right,
and this.
right.
And if you attack these ideas, you're like
Attacking
because
me.
it's part of my
Correct.
identity. You know,
People
so it
take
becomes
it personal.
So you also have to teach people to detach from some of these
Correct.
identities, and that's like almost a religious thing right there.
But you know, I want to encourage people to comment and if we could put in our 2 cents or invite you guys to come here. Maybe whoever has interest. We're here. We're open.
Or comment below.
We got
Yeah,
Tony
we'll talk.
to show up.
The Tony the
face,
Tiger,
the
baby.
camera.
Tony the
That's a
Tiger.
big deal. So hey, I'm happy about it. So I want to thank you, Louis, for inviting us back again and making this happen.
I'm gonna just keep going, dude. Look, we all have opinions, man. It's okay if we listen to different opinions and don't get offended.
Yeah,
It's okay, man. We're all one big community.
absolutely.
and that's what we're here to do, man. We're just here to like talk about shit, and then when the cameras and the lights go out, then we can start punching each other.
Better watch your back, Tony.
No, okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was another episode of the Talking with Tony show.
I thought it was
Talking with Tony, yeah, because that's literally what it was.
fireside chat.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Share this with your friends, please do. I mean, if you want to challenge somebody intellectually, this is a good place to start.
And if y'all want to do this again, next time I will take a turn at not talking for.
Well,
Yeah.
No, just to let y'all get out because I do have a tendency when I get in these subjects where I feel like I have something
we can do
really to come from.
We
I
can do a
guess.
timer.
Yeah, that too.
Subscribe for more content. Follow me on Twitter at Chakalaka88, as well as PSN, Steam, XBL, and Twitch, all Chakalaka88, all across the board, easy to remember. Remember to comment below with everything that we discussed. You can also, if you want something more long form that Twitter or the comment section can't handle, you can email me at boomchakalaka4@gmail.com, and I will read a response on air if needed.
Yeah.
Also, remember, you can also listen to this show in its entirety in audio form. MP3, iTunes, and Google Play. Links are in the description below. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being a part of this episode and doing this taping. This is a long-ass taping.
I know it was.
Thank you very much for making this a part of your day. I'm Luis Menchaca, signing out.
Yeah.